Check, check. Welcome to the green room. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of a crash. I hit the wrong button, actually. I can't blame it on anything else but me. What's up? You're in the green room. It's FFOP Radio's green room, that is. Hopefully now you can hear the music. There we go. Oy. I've been messing around under this desk with all these computers trying to find the best setup, and that's the thing. When you put a huge puzzle back together after ripping it apart, sometimes the pieces go back and you have a different picture. Trying not to let that happen, but you see how things are. Well, anyway, welcome to the green room, people. We're gearing up. I hope you all are getting ready. I am still opening windows and stuff. Get your popcorn, get your snacks, find your fizzy beverages. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. Labeling the ends of unplugged cords helps. Yeah, here's the thing. I should have thought of that because everything is running through basically one hole in this desk, and nothing is labeled. So basically, I have to do a little game of tug of war with someone on the other side. To hunt everything down, which is exactly what I had to do today. So, again, give me a moment. I realized the music dropped out, but hey, it's going to be the music from White Bat Audio when it does come back. There it is. Boy, oh boy. Oh, things just... Here's the thing. I got to quit monkeying with shit because I feel like, oh, maybe this will be better. Maybe this will be, whatever. I don't learn things fast enough, and we get off the rails so quickly around here. But that's it. Whatever. It's the green room. Anyway, we're going to be talking about and watching James Hanzey's interrogation, or as much as we can get through it tonight. What is going on, Tony? He was the chief of police of Buckeye Lake, the village of Buckeye Lake. It's so small. It's a village in Ohio, and we're going to be going over what's. You can't hear most of what I'm saying? Is that serious? Maybe it's, hold on. I might be overdriving it. Give me one sec. How does, check? Sorry about that. Maybe, yeah, I've been playing with things again. Sorry. It does look like the levels are a little higher than usual, but I don't know what's up with that. But now, this is why we fan this out in the green room, people. Hopefully now it sounds okay. So the reason we have the green room is for all these technical flaws that come along, which seem to happen a lot. That's the magic of live, right? The constant fear of screwing up. So I'm going to show you guys. I have a little transition here. Keep your eye on Mervin because he's going to change. Woo! So the OG Mervin. I love that. Please weigh in, Matt, Tony, if you can hear my... Matt, now that's the thing. Your prices of participation may vary. So if you got a bad connection, I don't know. Hopefully everything will get worked out in the end. All right. Check, mic check. That's what I used to do when we record the show. When it was a podcast, right? Because I always had to do a sound check, even though, nothing ever changed. But things like that, they do. Especially this mixer is, a high piece of technology. All right. We are gearing up. Hey, turds. What is up, Allison Marie Armstrong? Do I sound okay? We had some audio issues possibly earlier. Allegedly earlier. If I sound okay, please do let me know in the comments. Did some wire twisting. Oh, I knew it. There was some wires in the back of that old CRT TV you plug us into every show. Yeah, but you sound so sweet. No, but I think I was overdriving it, so it's not. I don't think it's anybody's problem but my own, and Kayla's the only one who caught it. But that's what she's a moderator for, to make sure quality control happens. Because if it were left up to me, this happens. All right, folks. Like I said, James Hanzey in the hot seat. One of my favorite interrogations. The raw footage is an hour and 40 plus minutes. So we're probably going to have to break this into two chunks. So we're going to get through as much as we can. I'll give you the highlights once we get out of the green room. Which, after I wet my whistle a little bit, will happen then. I made extra noise so you guys can tell I was actually wetting my whistle. Now that it is wet, let me get over here. I will go ahead and pause that. Do this.
Dog. Cat. Mouse. Turtle.
I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and this is FFOP Radio. We're on YouTube. Joining me as usual, Krista, my producer.
Yes, as usual.
Other things, secretary, keeper of the calendar. I feel like a producer wouldn't necessarily do all the scheduling too, but she does that.
Yeah.
Here with it, guys. Here we are. It is. Oh crap! Hold on. I just realized something. Oh god, this is so unprofessional. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. Jesus. What is up, Matt? Tony,
Hey, Matt.
Allison, Kayla, everybody who stays quiet, and I know maybe you're there later. There's Tony's name, as you can maybe see. It might be a little small. Let me, maybe I'll make it a bit bigger for you and see if that works out. Zoom! There's Tony's name still up in lights, and I put Toby Flenderson on his name tag for the whole The Office thing. So there he is, going strong for another week with the Boo Ghost. So, that's it, guys. Here we are. We're going to be talking about James Hanzey, the chief of police of the village of Buckeye Lake in Ohio. So a few of the stats. I think there are between 4 and 6 police officers staffed in the entire town, right? 2 stay on duty basically all the time. And there are some part-timers and yada, yada, yada. We're going to be talking about the initial kernel of this began when, and they'll get into it, I'm just going to give you a little highlight. He lost a finger due to God knows what. He got infected, had to cut it off. Out of work, dealing with the finger. Gets a call on like his personal phone from somebody, an old lady or a mother, the daughter of an old lady who was wigging out. So he shows up after, eating a hearty meal at B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, with his bros, the other police people.
He said doo-doo.
The dude on duty shows up. Hanzey's like, give me your gun. You take your rifle. I'm going to storm in my fucking no fear, or big dog or whatever they fucking wear in Ohio t-shirt. Pops off around in this old lady's trailer. She's a little crazy, it turns out. She's suffering from dementia, yada, yada, yada. It blew up because when they open an investigation on you, they have to dig into every part of you. Mm-hmm. And if you're a pain in the ass and you have political enemies, they're going to push hard. So that's where we're at. James Hanzey is, we're going to in situ see him, and I can't remember the place. He's not in Buckeye Lake. He's in a neighboring city's
I just looked
station.
at it, Licking County.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, he's...
Because that was where he had the grand jury. So at Lake and County.
Yeah, I forget in the footage you can kind of see where the name of the city or town was, but it's like cut off. Here, I'll show you a little bit. Boop, there we go. But yeah, so he's been hauled in. He's about to, that red folder that you see in the little screen there is his demise. Because basically, if you want to get deep, there's other interrogations out there. There's interrogations of the dude who basically ratted him out, who'd been keeping that red notebook of all his shenanigans. They interview/interrogate his toady and like 2 or 3 other people. So it's a rich tapestry of like corruption in a very small village. And wild shit, because like one guy was battling cancer while he was documenting this shithead's piss poor job as chief of police in Buckeye Lake. So this is him. You're gonna see him. You'll see the finger he lost, and it'll come up a lot. So don't you worry.
My finger.
Oh, this interrogation is from Interrogations, the YouTube channel. So give them a subscribe. They're going to read him his Garrity rights instead of his Miranda rights.
Is it because he's a police officer?
Yeah. Another interesting tidbit about this interview/interrogation is that nothing he says in here they can use to charge him criminally with.
Dude, I lost my cup somewhere.
There's a lot of like bullshit, shenanigan, office bullshit at start here.
Hey, Joe, do you know Ted?
Yeah, I think I've met him before.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Up your office that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met you.
Yeah, getting pulled into a neighboring police station by their chief investigators are being investigated. Like, hey, what's going on, man? Like, let's hang out.
All right, Ted. All right. You don't want any water or anything?
All right, Jimmy. These are your Garrity rights. Okay?
Garrity.
I'm sure you're familiar with them, but if you want to read those over.
And he really, like, here's the thing. He's the chief of police. You want to read those over? Like, hello. He's stalling and stalling and stalling. Like, you can only imagine what his stomach must feel like. And since it's stretched to the size of like a hot air balloon, it's a lot of feeling going on. Let's see, number 3. Like, he's filling out a tax form for the first time. All he's got to do is sign it. Because here's the thing. Again, everything he says here, he can't be charged for. But they're still doing investigations that could end up with criminal charges. They'll get into it.
It's cold here, too. This is a little chilly.
Number 1 complaint in every office building. Is it chilly in here? Is it chilly in here? Brr. Everyone's clutching mugs of coffee and cocoa. Like, oh, it's wraps. It's fucking 110 degrees outside this time of year. People like, ooh, light wraps in my office. Lady's got a blanket strapped to her chair so it doesn't fall on the floor. She disappears into a mountain of pink.
That's what I used to do at my old job. When I was pregnant.
Because I'm a man.
When I was pregnant, I was always cold, so I had a blanket.
These people are beyond childbearing age.
Figured you guys were busy or...
It never ends.
It never ends, Jimmy.
It doesn't. It never ends. It never stops.
Crime. You know what I mean, guys?
Crime.
Stole that mug from Denny's.
Just gonna drag it across this thing where the microphone is.
Here's the thing. I want to point something out to you really quick because it's interesting. It's like this is the leader and he's the follower or like whatever. He's his boss. And he's like a very no-nonsense, like cop-ish type dude. Like he's drinking that Denny's coffee, like black. There's not like no cream in there. It probably tastes like shit because it's probably Folgers or whatever. And then we check over this dude's like soft-spoken, same haircut by the way, like in bald spots and everything. But he's drinking like a pomegranate juice. So he must be. He's like they probably have like a Tango and Cash relationship where it's like classic cop versus like a little new age cop, but still not. I mean, look at their hair. They go to the same barber. They wear the same jackets. He's just a little more progressive drinking that palm juice. Like, just get to it, right? He's like, ah.
I guess first let's just start off with, do you have any questions right off the top of your head that you want to ask?
What am I
She
here
gave me a
for?
paper yesterday that said something about,
Really quick, there's the missing finger. It should be whoop right there.
public records,
Is it his ring finger?
village property,
Yeah, he lost his right ring finger, most of it.
inaccurate reports. I forget what the other.
That's like a huge list of shit. Like if you're hauled in before, like not your superiors, but like the superior of another town because there's only 4 of you where you live, and you go, let's see, she was saying this and that, falsifying records, misuse of documents, blah blah blah. Like that's a shit ton of shit, and like that's not even half of it.
The other one was.
Okay.
We'll get into it, Jimmy. We'll get into it, Jimmy.
Do you know anything about that stuff, about the inaccurate reports to city council?
Mm.
We'll get to those. I'll tell you. I'll try to go
Village council.
chronologically. That maybe makes more sense to us and to you then. But just tell me about what happened during the accidental shooting. Obviously,
all
I've got
started.
stories. A couple different, people told me, but you're the guy that accidentally discharged a weapon.
You're
so
the one who did it.
I can't wait to hear from you, man.
We
Can't wait. Like this is like the end of the investigation. They've already interviewed literally everybody else. They've gathered all the evidence possible. There's going to be like, we may get to it, we may not in this episode, but like there's an issue with some checks revolving around like his insurance and that finger of his. And it's like, he's just a wormy dude from top to bottom.
Jeff and Megan and I were on our way back from Lancaster. We had ate at B-Dubs.
B-dubs.
We were coming down
B-Dubs.
79 and we were in the area of Buckeye Lake Leisure Village. And my telephone rang. It was from Darlene Whithofer. I've known the family since, I was a firefighter with her brother Terry.
Which is crazy.
Ever.
Right.
And she's on the phone screaming and saying her aunt, she found her aunt in the middle of the road.
His early years.
And that 2 guys had broken into her aunt's house and held her at gunpoint. She was able to escape, but the gunman shot one guy. He was laying in the floor bleeding to death, and the gunman was still in the house.
What a wild story for a village of 4 policemen to get a call for, right?
From a personal cell phone, like not even 911.
And you're not on duty, number one. Like he'll get to it, but he's still on leave for his fucking finger. He's coming back from Buffalo Wild Wings and no weapon. He has to take what's-his-nuts' gun from him. He didn't even hit the accidental discharge. Wasn't even his weapon.
He was just the one that was holding it.
Yeah, and like I would imagine letting somebody borrow your car, your motorcycle, your whatever that's like super expensive, and they don't destroy it, but they put like a ding in it, or they drop it, or they let it fall over. And it's just going to be a hassle to get it fixed, even though the damage is minimal. That's his life.
So we're right there between both entrances to Leisure Village, the main entrance and the second entrance. I tell Jeff, go there because it's right over here, M section. So as we're there, I call Steve Ritter. Literally, this is what we got to get down to the M section. Meet with us. As we pull up, I'm dialing the sheriff's office. I call the sheriff's office. Tell them exactly what's going on. They say, you want emergency traffic? Yes.
So you called him?
I called the sheriff's office.
Okay.
We're standing there, we're just trying to decide what's going on, and she keeps saying, he's dying, he's in my house dying, he's in my house dying.
Okay, really quick. Like, every time I watch this, which is not a lot, but it's not rarely either, it always blows my mind to see like these frail old man arms on this hulking body and like this big turtle head popping out. It's like he's wearing a fat suit like to sumo wrestle, but to like wear it every day. He cut the arms off so his regular arms could come through, and inside he's like looks like me.
She was very physically upset. Both of them were really upset.
Physically
I
upset.
had no belief to doubt them.
Every time I hear that, I had no belief to doubt them. You had no reason to believe them either. Again, like how often do like 2 masked gunmen break into an old woman's trailer and then turn on each other? Again, the
Right.
story was one man shot the other in the trailer with the old woman who managed to get out of a dangerous situation with 2 armed gunmen. It was a woman his age's mother. Ninja grandma.
I wasn't even thinking of being on technically light duty.
Right.
No duty.
Had no gun with me.
Oh.
And, you know, with there was someone possibly being in that house dying, you guys have done the same thing. You'd have went in. We had 3 people here, and we've been trained. I told Ritter, give me your handgun. Vermaiden went around the side of the trailer to see if there was a door on the back. I said, go get your rifle, because we don't know what he's got.
Like the analogy I used earlier was a little inept, because here's the thing. Like, it's as if... Because there's no analogy. Like, if you borrow someone's motorcycle and it falls over, like, there's no bullet that'll fly out and kill someone. Even though it, like, went through the floor, it's still a fucking gun, right? Like, and that's why, like, in the other interviews that I've seen, like, when the guy talks about, like, him asking for the dude's gun, and the dude's like, you know... Everything in my mind, like every SOP said, no, don't do it. But like, he's the chief, so I gave it to him.
Right. That's what else? Like,
Give
when
me
you
your
can't tell
handgun.
him no, he's your boss.
And like, it's not, again, it's not something that like, it's not a recreational vehicle. It's a thing designed to shoot
Right.
people, ostensibly.
Handgun that I've got. And we went in, pepper 3.
Pepper
Vermaiden
3.
was the first one in the door, went to the right. Because it's a single wide. Went in, and I went to the left, and I held the whole back of the trailer.
Now, he's been talking for roughly 6 minutes, and he's like, imagine having that sort of confidence, this guy on your 6. Like, you being the guy going right, and now... God knows what he would sound like when there was actual like adrenaline pumping and he has to do physical activity. He's just explaining what was happening, and he's like huffing like Steven Seagal after he like takes a jog for 4.5 feet.
And the trailer's really dark. And the only lights that's on is their flashlights and a TV in the very back room.
Wasn't it daylight out?
I'm standing here, low ready, left hand, and all of a sudden something flashed. I thought someone was coming up, and when I come up, I hit a corner. And put running around, went on the floor.
Okay. Did you have your finger on the trigger or something when you went
Hell
up?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was coming up to protect myself.
Right.
And I just hit that counter and it just, pow.
Okay.
Off, just simple as that. We cleared the house. No one was there. It was
A flash is how he describes it, right? Like, there was a flash. Again, the dark trailer. Like, this isn't a swamp gas eruption. Like, it's not a weather balloon. Like, do you think there was, like, a wind chime just hanging somewhere that caught a stray beam of sunlight that bounced off the dishwater that, like, spooked him into thinking, again, a flash. Not a body, not a figure, not a presence. No one said anything.
Right.
There was just a shimmering effervescence before him, and he's like, time to take action against this fairy dust and pop around in the floor.
The TV and the doors cracked about that big. I talked to the woman.
We talked about me shooting her floor.
Didn't know that she had an onset of dementia is what he told us.
Whoops.
Told us the other day that she told him Trump was in her bedroom.
Here's the thing. I worked in a memory care unit, and people suffering from dementia don't act or carry, compose, dress like, or, do any of these things to any competent degree, especially if they're doing what this lady is doing. And all that is true with the Trump and this whole story about the 2 gunmen and everything. Like, there would be something off. So the first thing when you're on the scene and all these competent police officers, where is the grandma? And why isn't anyone looking at her and going, like, let's assess her situation first before we run in and,
Right.
guns drawn. Like, look at the old lady who's, like, in the middle of the road with, like, probably crazy hair in a bathrobe, something. Come on.
Crocs.
No detectives on that police force?
Never been to that house before. I know her, but I only knew her from McDonald's, not
You believe that?
personally talking
McDonald's.
to her or anything. I didn't know that she was having an issue, which after everything was found out, it was found out she had a UTI.
Oh,
urinary tract
Killer
infection
UTI.
forever and
Okay.
never told her
went
kids.
septic and she went
And that
crazy.
was what was, she had seen a police movie prior to going to bed that night.
UTIs do some crazy
So,
shit to
you
you.
know, I checked the house
Especially
to make
when
sure
you're
everything
old.
was fine.
Right, but that's the thing. If you look over at the person, they're acting crazy. You hear a crazy story, that should have been red flag number 1. You show up at the single wide trailer and the woman's not inside, but out in the street screaming like a banshee. That should have been red flag number 2. When you go in, it's completely dark and there's no sound, no set, like the door wasn't kicked in, the windows aren't broken.
There wasn't a body bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah, like nobody's come out to see what all the commotion about, because a gunshot going off in a trailer park would be loud and a lot of people would, after a while, probably float out to see what's going on. But they show up to a deadly still scene with a woman in the front yard with one slipper on throwing cats in the air. And they go, it's time to hit the hay. And by that, I mean shoot the floor.
That we didn't hurt the electric, didn't hurt the water, you know, from her end, set her and her son down.
I hurt the
And said,
electric.
listen, we had an accidental discharge.
We.
Sorry about that. Well, everything in the house is fine. And his exact words to me is, I don't give a shit, as long as my mom's okay. I said, what about,
Managers love to use the term we when they fuck up, but I when everything is
Everything's
okay.
great, or like they had a great idea.
I took care of that for you.
Hallucinating
We
or something like
fucked
that.
up.
We
We
need
dropped the
to-
ball back there, but then I
Don't worry
came
about
in
take
the
care of
clutch.
her?
Yeah.
Let's get her to the hospital. He
The
said, no,
Hanzey.
she goes into the doctor's in the morning. I said, then you can come and get a copy of our report so your doctor can have that to use to see what kind of medicine to get it on.
I was going to diagnose completely different thing before I saw this police report. Now, way off base. I was like, hey, I'm a doctor.
UTI.
Yeah, UTI. You know what? After reading this police report, I charged her with criminal craziness.
And he said that would be fine. Or I would have pink slipped her that night. But with her, he's like, I'm staying here. She's going to the doctor's in the morning. She argued a little bit with him. No, I'm not. Mom, yes, you are. You've got a doctor's appointment. And I told him, I said, Dave, you come and get a copy of this report. Or have your doctor, get something from your doctor. We'll fax a copy of the report over to see, show that she's hallucinating or something, so she can get help.
You wouldn't need like a police report. Like if she's bonkers,
Like,
you take her in
actively
there,
doing
she's
it.
going to be bonkers.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, it's not like TV shows show you like where like, well, sometimes it does. There will be like the sundowners
I
who
was
will
gonna
have
say they're
whatever.
sundowners.
But those are really rare in my experience. Typically, the lights are off or they're on. Okay, they're off and somebody's home, or they're on and nobody's home.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends, but like my grandfather had sundowners.
Well, and they're always going to be varying degrees.
Yeah, right. And you can. It's not an always an every time thing. It's just
I whatever. I was also in a place where they were put, but it always sort of came down to two types where they had total cognitive control over their speech, but their mind, like those are the lights on, but nobody's home people. So
Yeah.
they're just talking like a parrot, like a minor bird, like mimicking a camera. And then there were the people who the lights were off, but somebody was home, where like that stroke destroyed the language center of their brain, but they were still intact in there, and they would just go and
Just
speak
start-
gibberish
yeah.
and think that it was all making sense.
right.
Very rarely did I, because maybe they're just easier to deal with, so they weren't put places, because that's where I was. But by and large, but that's even like the sundowners, when they wake up, they're not all there. It's just when the sun goes down,
It just gets worse,
yeah.
and it gets like it can be violent.
But and then it gets like grossly sexual too. Everybody who works in an
Yeah.
old folks home, anywhere, a nursing home, I don't care. You will have stories of them banging. I have stories of old people banging. I watched two old people on the couch in a common area in full view of three other old people with the TV on and Matlock engaging them all. One man was finger banging a lady on the couch and no one took notice.
Yeah, there was a a guy who both long-term care people. You know, they were both able to make their own decisions. They couldn't, you know, per our SOPs, couldn't be in a room together. So she was in with a lady who literally not always slept all the time, or they wheeled her out, and like she was not there at all. And the family had come in and to see this woman, and he was in the room with her doing some stuff, and they came out in a rage.
Right, you can't do that because once that sort of thing sets in and like your higher brain function starts to ebb, your lower brain function is still intact. So your endocrine system and every little nook and cranny that was pumping out hormones that your higher brain was keeping in check, because, you know, that's what it was, they become ultra horny.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, whatever, wild digression, but that's the thing. You know what's going on just within moments of interacting with them. So the fact that they all just went whoosh, right over all their heads, or at least James Hanzey's had enough that, because if he says, you know, don't mind her, they probably be like, yeah, because he handed him his gun.
Right.
And we went back to the office, all three of us wrote up our statements, wrote up the use of force where I had the accidental discharge.
I
went from there. I called the mayor.
Went
Did
from
you do a
there.
call record at that time, or a report at that time? Because
told
when
the
went over to talk
mayor.
to you didn't have one yet.
It was in the computer, yes.
Okay.
Jeff,
How long would you wait to like type up a report about shooting a bullet into a trailer?
Yeah.
I mean, hello, whatever.
should have faxed it to you. We had a CR number.
Right.
Yes, CR number, and the square CR number was filled out and everything.
Okay.
It hadn't been typed in yet, but it was put in the book, and it was handwritten out.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing about keyboards and computers in general. It's like the invention of the keyboard, you know, it's like the screwdriver versus the screw. Like if the spirit fingers weren't invented before the keyboard, they definitely were invented after.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you notified dispatch, right?
Yes.
Okay, did Riddle also notify dispatch, or did he just come right to the scene with you guys and help clear the trailer?
You know, I don't know if he also notified dispatch because we didn't have a walkie on him. I didn't have a walkie, neither did Jeff. I do know when I was standing
Because we were in civilian clothes, not on duty, coming back from Buffalo Wild Wings.
there, she said
B-dog.
99 traffic. He got on the radio and asked for, and said, but you know, 45899 traffic.
Okay. All right. So we pull a tape from there. It's going to have you call on dispatch.
Yes.
Okay.
P.S. He should have already done that weeks ago, possibly
Yeah.
at this point.
Yes, it was.
Because Ritter marked dispatch too and said, hey, you know, what's going on over here at the trailer park and everything else. So he actually marked it. So you guys get over there, you have your external discharge, talk to the people, everything's fine with them.
That is cool.
At some point, Hebron came over, right?
Yes.
Okay. Were they called to come over?
I don't know. I don't know that because again, I didn't hear anything on walkie. I don't know. Sometimes when we got something like that, they just drift over.
Right.
And we drift over to them.
Sure.
Something like that, like an accidental shooting of a what? You just float here. We're always just
Float on
accidentally
over.
popping off, like doing desk pops and shit. So you know they'll hear gunfire, we'll float over. They'll hear gunfire, we'll float over. You know, just sort of see what's shaking. What? Are you kidding me? Like your town, your municipality is so small that like a single gunshot is
They can hear it from
like
the next village.
picked up by the next village. They go, hey, what do you guys shoot a single bullet over here or
What's
what?
going on? They like put their head over the fence.
They're Wilsoning it like, hey neighbor, like
What's going on over
accidental
here?
discharge into a crazy lady's trailer. That's gonna sting.
Yeah.
Was there
the
any
mayor hates
conversation
you.
about not telling them about the accidental discharge?
Yes, there was.
Okay. What was
that
your
about?
call?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the rationale there?
Ritter likes to tell things, and for the integrity of the case, integrity of
Beautiful.
the accidental shooting,
Integrity.
Ritter, you don't have to go tell everybody that we had an accidental shooting. Let's get this investigated first. Let's go get it looked at. You know, let's save the integrity of the case right here before anybody,
The integrity of the case. It feels pretty open and shut. The police chief, with 3 deputies in tow, who all witnessed this, shot a round into the floor.
The
They
end.
heard it. I guarantee they smelled it. They probably saw the flash if it was a dark trailer. What's the integrity to preserve, right? It wasn't like you walked in because you heard a sound from outside. Like, you made the sound.
1,700 people know.
Sure.
And that was the only reason.
For the
There's no
integrity.
reason to hide anything. How can you hide an accidental discharge?
Yeah, if they're drifting
So,
over from
I
hearing
can go
it.
bang real loud.
Yeah, and you got a spent shell. We got the shell. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I sure did. I
Yeah.
told him, because he likes to tell. And there's some things that happens in-house just like here. You guys
Buckeye
have
Lake is known for integrity of its cases.
Until things are looked at.
In a
I
mayor
did
with a big
exactly what I
mouth.
was supposed to do. I called the mayor 6 times and she never called me back.
God damn you, Peggy Wells.
She likes
She
to
called
talk.
Ritter instead of calling my phone.
What's up with that?
She does that a lot.
I'm the chief of
And she does
police.
the other day. She's standing there, Ritter's phone goes off. Call from Peggy Wells. He's talking to her. I'm like, I walk up and say, why aren't you calling me? I'm the chief.
Right.
Not no more.
Huh.
You know?
So you guys got
Maybe she don't respect you.
some communication barriers between you and the mayor, you would say?
From years, she's been on council for years, and yeah, she never liked the police department. She's actually picketed against the fire department. She don't like them. She had a big meeting with.
I need context for all of this because it sounds like bullshit. Like, usually government people are gung-ho about government institutions, aka the police, the fire.
Yeah, and it's such a small town. It's not even a town.
like,
it's a village.
who on their council is like so off their nut that's like, I'm against firemen and policemen in Buckeye Lake, and still remains like on the council to
Yeah.
spread these ideas?
With Randy Thorpe and Billy was still there, and
Thorpe
wanted
is
to see
Christie.
about bringing them in and get rid of us. And Billy and them guys told him, you can't afford us,
Right.
But when she
They had to settle with Hanzey and the crew.
took over mayor and she took me in on January 19th, I told her, I said, all I want to do is my job.
Yeah.
Let
I
me
wanna work
do
with
my
you. I have no
job.
hard feelings about nothing.
All right.
And now I lost my
And
finger.
that's that. That's that. But the other thing that
That's that,
got
yeah,
brought
Jimmy,
up by
that's that.
Peggy was some of the hours that were logged in, and then that was also a concern with some of the people we brought that up as well. Some of the hours that you actually worked, and not actually being at work. That was a common theme. Everybody we talked to, that,
Right.
you weren't actually at work
Right. Yeah, right. Oh, wait, what?
doing anything. And a couple of them mentioned a computer that you had at home. That your excuse was that you had to go home because you had some information on the computer at home that you didn't at work.
My computer at home is set up the same way the computer at the house. At the office.
Okay.
And if I was at my house doing stuff and writing, you can go to my house right now and I can show you the stuff that I've done, changing policies and changing things. I've had permission from our mayor, Kate Carroll, to go there.
Okay. Have you had
Don't go there, girlfriend, he said to me. But then he was like, JK, go there all the time. And I was like, thanks, mayor, from 2 mayors ago.
permission from this mayor to go there?
No, and I haven't.
Okay. All right.
I wish I'd have brought my phone in. The time.
Yeah, I was just like telecommuting as a police officer starting 3 days a week. Like, if there was a crime, I would call up the place and I'd be like, hey, stop it, you're all under arrest. And yeah, most of them would show up.
I mean,
You can't telecommute as a police officer.
if he's doing it to make SOPs and stuff, then what does
he's
it matter?
doing it. No, you're gonna find out why he is doing it. He's not doing it to make SOPs. Do you think a guy who sits at home and is dedicated enough to make SOPs at home on his whatever is gonna get pulled in front of these 2 knuckleheads? No.
He probably wouldn't have been until he shot the damn floor.
Yeah, but then they would be like, hey, what's up with the floor thing? And not like, hey, what's up with the floor thing? And this mountain of corruption and incompetence.
Times that they're probably talking about is I burnt my foot right heel, really bad, clear to the bone.
Every time he says that, which I watch, occasionally, I imagine him kind of like in the same situation as Michael Scott did in The Office, where he burnt his foot on the George Foreman grill because he puts the bacon there. It just feel totally plausible that he has a George Foreman plugged in and just sitting on the floor of his bedroom for like late night snacks, or if he wants to bring back some toast to the bed or whatever, and he just like fell onto his mattress piss drunk with his heel in the Foreman, and clear to the bone because he fell asleep.
Yeah, he wants
And
to
I
make
had to
some
have a
bed toast.
special boot.
That's where he put his finger.
And it hurt to walk in.
And he put a pig in the blanket.
And
And
I would come in the mornings, I would get the mail like I was supposed to. I would
just like I was supposed to as chief of police.
Get the
Number
mail.
one, get the mail.
check the phone recorders and do everything else.
See if anybody left a voicemail in the 911 overnight.
And then I would go to the house and do what I had to do. But I always had my walkie right there, and they knew this.
Well, I think part of it too was they said they came over, a couple of times, and you were just wearing shorts and a t-shirt watching cops while you were on duty.
No.
And that was and then when I checked the records, you had him logged on his hours
And Cops was on because I also pulled the TV guide record.
that day. But my concern is if you're at home that day, and that's true. Let's say that's true what he's saying. If you're just sitting around watching Cops when you're supposed to be at work, that could be an issue.
Right.
Obviously.
You could be watching Cops IRL, dude. Like, come to work and watch
Yeah, just look at us.
Ritter and Vermaeten.
I mean, you're the chief of police. You wouldn't want one of your guys doing that. So, I mean, you got to understand from
No, I wouldn't
our
want them
perspective,
watching
looking at
Cops.
numbers and looking at everything else.
Wildest police chases, maybe, but not Cops. That's yours truly.
Are brought to us as a concern. We have to try to figure out why or justify why. That's
Why you're
happening.
watching Cops
Right.
on
So
the clock.
that's why I'm asking you, because
No.
I want you to justify to me why that is a reoccurring thing from everybody we've talked to. It's a reoccurring issue that Jenny goes home a lot, and he'll leave and he'll just stay home. But literally it's a reoccurring thing. Everybody said the same thing.
Yeah, the four
Why do you
people
think
you
that
work
is,
with.
Jimmy?
I would go home a lot. But I would not. I would be in blue jeans or my BDU pants and a shirt that always said police. And I would be doing the stuff that I was allowed to do on the computer for the mayor. And then I would go out and go get cards, tag numbers and stuff with the jump cards. And I would do my OLEG. And or write it up. I wouldn't do the OLEG at the house because I couldn't. I could only do it at the office. But I would write the jump card stuff up.
Okay.
But again, not again, because this is a brand new thing, but like think about it. I guess it is again. It speaks to the smallness of the town because again, it's a village. It's a village council. How many? Because that's the thing. The cars, whether we get to it in this episode or not, cars are going to be an issue where like abandoned cars and like parts are being taken and stuff. And like here where I live, like in the Phoenix area or in Mesa or Scottsdale, any of those places, I can imagine a decent amount of cars being just like left or abandoned because I see them not regularly, but enough that it's not unusual. But again, there's like 3 million people in the Phoenix area plus all the surrounding suburbs. So you'd imagine, eventually shit's going to break and they're going to ditch it, whatever. But like 4 police officers. How many cars are you like? Is Buckeye Lake just? And number one, who's buying all these cars and just letting them go to hell, like parking them all over Buckeye Lake?
I mean, just because if they come home and see me, I'm in a T-shirt that says police and I'm not wearing my full uniform with the badge and all this, everything else, doesn't mean that I'm cheating the system.
Sure.
Okay, but here's the thing: like there are very few jobs, I would argue, where the uniform makes a difference. Like if you work in an office and they want you business casual versus business this or casual or whatever, wear jeans on Friday or whatever. Police, firefighters, anything where you have to wear like a belt with like a utility belt, let's say, or gear that keeps you safe in inclement conditions, or you have to defend yourself or lock somebody up. Anytime you have to like gear, that's highly important. So yeah, if a cop showed up to a situation where I was like at, and I called them and I said, "Hey, police, get over here." And it's jeans and a t-shirt because it's casual Friday. And there's people I need to be, taken care of or arrested or whatever. You don't want someone coming up over like as an RA being like, hey guys, knock it off. It's casual Friday, so I can't do much. But again, not like James Hanzey is going to be like chasing anybody or doing anything physical, really.
Working. I'm doing a lot of the things in the background that.
Speaking of that, junk cars. I wanted to ask you about that too. What are your procedures for junking cars?
Junking cars?
Yeah, let's say you get a car and then
Junking?
Nobody comes and gets it. What are your procedures to get rid of that vehicle?
Run the thing through the state of Ohio. They come back and tell us if there's a lien on it. And then you send that person, or if there's a lien on it, you send that person 10-day notice. Or if there's no lien on it, you send that person, the owner, 10-day notice. And then if they don't collect it or we get it back, they've got 10 days to pay the towing or anything like that. If not, then I go get a title from the BMV, and then we gather how many other cars we got up, get 3 bids, and then people come out and look at the, like junkyards or private people or whatever. They look at all the.
Again, it just blows my mind that there is a standard operating procedure for this sort of thing in such a small place. Like, there's enough. Like, just abandoned vehicles are like, yeah, this is how we happen. Like, people come out, they check. Holy shit. I can't, if this is true, I can't imagine what it's like in a big city like Phoenix. Like, are they just pulling in, lots of used cars? Like, is this where all, the pop-up, Cactus Jack auto malls come from?
All the cars all at once and give you 3 bids, and the highest bidder gets them.
Okay. And they get them all intact, the way they're supposed to be. Okay.
Intact, you say?
You ever taken any batteries out and sold the batteries?
No.
No?
Like how specific that question is, it's not, there's no beating around the bush. It's not layer after layer of the upper circles of hell. We go right to the core with batteries. Ever take any batteries? It's not like, did you ever take anything? Did anything mysteriously, did anyone complain about? It's none of that. It's just you ever steal a battery, James? No, definitely not. Well,
and the reason I'm asking in this setting, Jimmy, is this is a setting where under Gary, you can't be charged with what we're talking about. We can't.
Kenny Powers, police chief.
Okay, but if that comes out criminally, there's going to be some issues probably with stealing. Okay, so.
Yeah, stealing is an issue, but I'm the chief of police, and here's the thing. When you're the boss, you can justify a lot of shit because you're the boss, even though it's not the right or ethical or whatever thing to do. And that's where you might fall into a pitfall because you can be the boss, like the chief of police, you consider the boss. The problem is the person over you is the mayor and they're the boss. But you forgot to look up.
There's been those allegations and a little more than just allegations, very, very specific things that I've checked out that are not making a lot of sense, okay? One of them especially being a water pump that was taken off of a truck for Randy.
A little specific, do you think?
And Randy gave the water pump to his brother, Gary.
There's always a Gary. There's always a Gary.
And Randy had your permission to take the water pump off of the truck that was in the impound lot. So think about that before you answer me, Jimmy, because I want you to be really honest with me, man.
I'm good. I am.
P.S. The bureaucracy of law enforcement is hilarious because, again, it is just the letter of the law that makes this a really heinous offense. Because in reality, we're talking about a new $35 part, but it was taken out of a truck that had been using it, so you could probably pull it out of pick apart for about $6. But since there's a statute and or a law and or a rule or whatever they use in this village against it, it's another layer of this trifle of shit that he got himself into. And for what? A battery is what you saved yourself $200, but that just lands you a year in jail.
Yeah.
A water pump is again, nothing. Go to BAP. What, you don't have a fucking $25 you can't kick up? You're like, hey, chief of police, can you give me a water pump?
I respect you. I really do genuinely like you. I want to make sure that you come.
I genuinely like you. I don't believe it when he says that because
No, 'cause why
James
would you have
Hanzey
to say
seems
that?
like a pile of shit. He
Yeah.
seems like a lazy dude who exploits people and things all the time and is probably a real pain in the ass professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to hear this guy say, like, yeah, I respect you. I like you. And it just feels like he's just playing through a checklist of like, hey, man, I love you. You're my brother. You're my friend. You're a homie. I love you at Thanksgiving. Let's open some Christmas presents. Kwanzaa is my favorite time of year. See you in jail.
You come out of this thing, you know, okay. Whether that's okay with your job, okay without your job, you know, but what I don't want to see
Spoiler
is
alert,
something
not
that,
okay.
you know, you get charged for or go to jail for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If anything was taken off them cars, the village already owned them, and they had permission from the mayor to take anything. I personally have never.
So Randy walked up to the mayor and he's like, hey, mayor, it's me, Randy. And Mayor Patty Wells goes, well, how did you get in my fucking office? And he goes, my name's Randy. Can I have a water pump? And she goes, security. And he goes, you got it. And that's how the story goes. Pulled the water pump out, and the rest is history.
Never taken anything.
Car would never overheat it again.
Anything.
Truck.
Now Randy and Mark Dimmick has, yes, but they've always had permission, and they've never done anything until the vehicles were owned by the village.
Sure.
If anybody anywhere in any sort of high corporate, bureaucratic, or government thing does something for you that feels too good to be true, make them prove it because they'll have to. Like, bureaucracy will work in your favor because if you feel like something is too good to be true, they'll have to prove to you that it's not painstakingly because it's some bureaucrat's job.
Right.
Like, walking onto a lot and being able to, like, pull shit and just, like, it just... But, again, I don't know how many people are in Buckeye Lake. Do me a Google search to see how many people are in Buckeye Lake because 4 police officers can't service that many people. I just refuse to believe it.
And they were going to the junkyard. They were
As
getting
of
loaded up.
2021, there are 2,551 people.
Unbelievable. That's like Superior or something like that. Local reference.
That day or the next day and go into the junkyard to be crushed.
Okay. So it's all the same pile of money, right?
Yeah, Superior
I mean,
is
one car goes, it goes all, or it
24.79.
goes-
Bingo.
Or they jump.
But they have like
A lot
more-
of cops.
Yeah, they have a lot more than
But they have a
4.
lot of meth also. And a lot of them are probably highway police too because it's
But-
on a highway.
Well, whatever. But moral of the story is like maybe Buckeye Lake isn't. I don't know shit about Buckeye Lake, so maybe it's just named Lake and there isn't a lake nearby. But I feel like the lake would be something that you would need extra law enforcement for, and small towns definitely. You know, let's not beat around the bush with this, but yeah, small towns do definitely have like drug problems, and that's why you will see a heavy force. But the fact there's only 4, and
It's a big old lake.
okay, so yeah, that's the thing. It must be just like a dirty, smelly fishing lake, and that's why they only need 4 cops. Because otherwise, I mean, it's like Andy Griffith with incompetent James Hanzey instead of, Andy Griffith.
Junking it out.
It looks like a lake, all right.
It's
a pretty big lake.
I mean, contextually, I don't know. I don't see a scale for.
Anything off of that.
It goes from Millersport through Buckeye Lake to Thornport.
I mean, you guys know. You live in Ohio.
Yeah, come on.
You just sell them out as a whole.
So at the car, I've seen it when I've taken them there. They ran the forks through the forklift, through the windows, picked it up, put it in this thing, put it down.
Yeah. Crush everything like a sandwich.
Yep.
Well, they have a
But
wine.
if
Crush everything like a sandwich.
Just crush it like a sandwich.
Like if this were a Mr. Show sketch and he said that, he like crush everything like a sandwich, James Hanzey and his lackey would both look at him and go like, what? And then you'd see like a flashback to him making a sandwich for like spreading the peanut butter and jelly and then just like fucking mashing the shit out of it and smashing it into a ball, like cramming it in his face. I'd be like, yeah, just like a sandwich. Give it up, James.
I didn't even know about a water pump to Gary. But if it was taken, battery, water pump,
Very specific thing.
I will tell you, I knew a jack was taken, one of them scissor jacks, but it was already up on the trailer. Trunk wouldn't lock, and Randy's like, "Oh, we got a jack." All right. But the village owned them vehicles. There was permission by Clay Carroll.
What a story, right?
Look,
It was up
why?
on the truck. The trunk wouldn't close. Randy says, "There's a jack." I go, "All right." I fucking love stories that end like this, right? Where like they say, "Well, what happened there?" And I go, "Well, like this story." We go, "Well, they put on the truck. The trunk, just wouldn't close." Randy goes, "There's a jack." What?
The end.
And nothing was taken until it. That stuff was taken, the village owned it.
Okay, so when the village owned it, let's say that you guys did everything properly,
And the people of that village, if you will.
the village owned it, did you take any batteries then after they owned it? Did the mayor?
Tons, all of them. We took all the batteries, the catalytic converters. We sawzalled them out. Buckeye Lake all got. The police officers all got like little Wayne grills.
Say, hey, you can take
my
these.
God.
I'm trying to, explain it for myself in my head why I've had two people tell me the same thing now. Two different people. One,
Two completely different people. They're not conjoined twins, and they don't live in the same house. They're completely separate from one another spatially. Think about that, James. What do you think about that?
that I would say is completely on your side. One that says maybe not completely on your side, and they're both telling me the same thing. So I'm trying to figure that out. Why in my head that would be
In
the
my
case.
head,
So
James.
is there a circumstance or an instance where you did take a battery or two after the mayor cleared it?
Remember, this is for my head alone.
I've never
Can't
taken a
charge you
battery.
criminally.
Never.
Okay.
And this thing, it's kind of like a lie of omission because I'm sure he hand waved a bunch of people who were like, "Hey, Jimmy, can I go rifle through all the shit out there?" And he goes, "Oh, whatever. I'm going home to watch Cops." So he can justify it to himself and to them and probably even pass a lie detector test if that question was asked. To be like, "Did you take anything?" Like, "No, I never took anything." Yeah, because he didn't
Never.
physically.
All right. Well, I needed to ask you about that because, like I said, I've had a couple of them here. All right.
4 or 5.
So you don't know anything about Randy taking the water pump?
No.
Okay. Because Randy's saying he had your permission to do it, not the mayor's. He said he had your permission.
Well, he probably asked me, "Hey, I'm going to get something of one of these cars," and it may have been, it may have been a water pump, but I don't remember.
When people say things like that, it's confusing, right? Where you're like talking about a very specific thing, and he goes, he may have, and it may have even been a water pump. But if you can't even remember, it's saying he may have, and that may have. It's the if-then bullshit conspiracy bridge that leads to nowhere. The ifs and thens of this board and nail bridge need to have that first if be real. So if you're saying, well, if he did then, and if he did that then, if the first if is a lie, then you're just a fat idiot.
But no one took anything until the village owned the vehicles and they were going to the scrapyard.
Okay.
This is the double-edged sword of bureaucracy, is you get an idiot who thinks they understand bureaucracy, who's like a jailhouse lawyer. They go, well, technically I'm not breaking any laws, because this was like this and that was like that, and so everything was legally kosher, when technically all of these laws are simply just ideas. Like, it's just junk sitting one place or another behind or in front of a chain link fence that you can then consider it a crime.
Right.
But since James Hanzey is such a fucking idiot, they're looking for literally anything because, again, like the mayor hates him. His own officers hate him. God knows how many city council members hate him. So it's not like nobody was probably doing that SVU thing where they go, "Do you know this person?" They go, "No, I don't know." And they go, "Well, yeah, I know him, but not very well. Okay, I did know him and we were friends, but okay, they were total meth addicts and they totally dealed in child pornography." Like, hello, corn,
Corn.
Cornhub.
Matter of fact, I got to tell you,
Yeah, good.
Let me
they
take a quick
took a set
story.
of tires off once for a vehicle.
Don't admit to other things when people are asking you about things you're taking. Don't be like, yeah, well, here's another story about things I took that I do remember.
There's good tires that were going to the junkyard. We put it up on the thing, they lifted it up, took the tires off. Because it would have fit one of the village work vehicles.
Here's the thing. Here's how I would sweeten the Sunday of these stories, right? Instead of being like, hey, it was Randy who said there's a jack and I tagged the story with a big at the end. Why not, if you're going to tell a bullshit story, be like, yeah, the guys from the yard, the guy who drove the truck said this won't close. Hey, here's a jack. Do you want it? Because it's just junk and we're going to break this car down anyway. Just sweeten it with that. I mean, those dudes aren't going to have any specific memories of shit. They're all going to like do shit like that probably on the regs.
Right.
So just be like, yeah, the dude was like, hey, these are good tires. We're crushing this shit. Want to, do something? Don't be like, yeah, he lifted him up. Because then it makes it seem like every time these dudes show up and they move something, you go, wait! And then you start stripping it like you were going to chop shop. But you're the cops. Cop shop.
So, it's things like it was.
That's my new reality show. Because everybody loves, like lizard lick towing or repo dudes, anything where people are getting their shit taken away. We'll call it the cop chop shop, where like if your shit gets impounded, you don't come get it. They like pimp your ride in like a stupid way, or they chop your shit up and sell it for parts. Yeah. And like by the time you get down to wherever the impound lot is, they'll give you whatever's left of your car back.
Oh yeah.
It's a great show. I'm
like
a genius.
Jimmy, have you ever taken anything from the vehicles that the mayor said you could take?
Get a bumper.
Any of the vehicles that you were going to impound?
No.
Okay. All right.
Right, because how fast, imagine, because here's the thing. When people, there are two types of people who like leave cars on the side of the road. Those who are just looking to just lose something into the bureaucracy of government because they know somebody will eventually break it down to its finer materials and it'll get dispersed throughout whatever to pay taxes or whatever. Or it's someone with a legitimate problem who wasn't fast enough to collect their shit.
Right.
So for those in-betweeners who take time or whatever to clear up shit, be like, hey, after a certain amount of time, we're going to start chopping shit off your car if we get orders for parts. So if you want to get your car intact by this date, anything beyond that, every day will be a potential loss physically for you.
Yeah.
So if you drive off without your water pump, sorry about it. That was 24 hours that you should have been here earlier.
Yeah.
And it's a show.
Going back to
the cop chop shop.
The cop chop shop
the accidental
show.
shooting, the accidental, I'm going to call it accidental discharge. It wasn't, I mean, you shot the ground, right? Essentially. You knew that you were not on.
Essentially, like you shot it downward at a downward angle and a downward motion toward the earth. So essentially you hit the ground. There was no walls. You didn't hit the sky.
They know that
no
it went in the ground.
Windows.
I'm
You
sure.
Essentially, basically, and when you get down to the brass tacks, at the end of the day, when it is what it is, you shot the floor. Fuck.
Duty, right?
Like they had to
I
have
knew
seen
I
the
was
bullet
on light
hole.
duty.
Okay, you weren't even on light duty according to your doctor's excuse.
No
you were
duty.
on light duty until the 12th.
No, I had the doctor's excuse with me.
I've got the doctor's excuse.
Like, did you take it to B-dubs with you? Like,
He's
was
supposed to
it,
his glove
was it like
box.
get a free picture of Blue Moon if you have a doctor's excuse for getting a massively infected finger and not taking care of it early enough to not lose it?
It doesn't
Picture
say that
Blue
you can
Moon.
return until the 12th. And this accident, this incident happened on the 10th. But you were not to return to work until the 12th.
Okay, the 12th was a Monday.
Yes.
All right, and this happened on a Saturday. Yes, I could have, I could return to duty on Monday.
Yes, on Mondays.
But again, since it was 40
It
hours
happened
before,
on Saturday.
you weren't on duty, not in uniform, coming back from B-dubs, possibly with a buzz, borrowed a coworker's gun. Does that all sound like... Because here's the thing, bureaucracy will get you. The spirit of the law will be like, pretty forgiving because most people aren't dicks and we all make mistakes and we all bend the rules, so we all just sort of get it. But if you're an asshole and people want to look for things, a 48-hour gap is tremendous. You could drive a truck to ruin your you're in your entire family's life through a 48-hour gap. Because
Yeah.
all you have to do is, before you can make it back to work, is borrow a friend's gun and shoot an old lady's floor.
Well, the thing is, like, if it was, like, I'm just assuming that people just don't like him. But if it was a chief of police that was like Cragen, like somebody that has like accolades and like, you know, like
Right, but this is a 4-person police station.
I'm just
and
saying,
he is.
if that were to happen in a place where the person was super respected and all that stuff, and it happened, they probably wouldn't bat an eye.
Right, but that wouldn't happen because you'd have a tight ship. Like Captain Cragen has to deal with like loose cannons and people who go off the deep end because they're dealing with like child predators.
Right.
And otherwise, like, I'm sure their marksmanship, like they're, you know, they talk about their stats all the time. They're literally unrealistic. Like their case closure rate is like hovering in the 90s.
It's
when like the
stupid.
national average is in the 40s.
Yeah.
Hello.
And I was just using it as an example,
Right,
not like.
But that's the type of shit that wouldn't happen. Is like every time one of them does something, they get a rip for that thing. Mm-hmm. Because they're clean otherwise. Like if Elliot Stabler were like, you know, on the download doing dirty shit or any of them, because, you know, that's the thing. Everybody gets rips every now and again. And if there were dirt to be dug up, they'd find it.
Yeah.
Because this dude sailed for 15, 20, 25, however years. He was a fireman first and now this.
Yeah.
How long did he go with no one looking? It just takes sometimes it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, and sometimes it's a boulder that comes along and finally just tips the scale that was just about to go. Mm-hmm. But like, who knows how long he probably could have gone his entire career and then, retired with full pension.
Oh, probably.
If he hadn't shot the fucking floor. Because again, that red notebook was kept by one of his subordinates who may or may not even have come forward with it had he not shot the floor, because this investigation opened up and he said, "Why you're doing this, here you go." Because P.S. the dude was like dying from cancer. He had no legitimate reason to do this because at that point he was checked out from literally everything.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so that means you weren't on duty.
He's
you weren't on duty at
56
all,
he was
right?
56
That's why
years
you
old.
have a gun with you.
So he,
I would assume
I mean, he could have retired 20
But
years
like,
ago.
damn, like he was a firefighter and then he like got all the way to chief at 56. That's insane.
But you didn't have your firearm, right? Okay. That's because you were not on duty, correct?
No, I don't feel that way. I feel that I'm in the village, I'm on duty.
No, not in a fucking million years. Like, if not that anyone ever would, but like wherever you work, if you broke into the place after hours when you're not on the clock just to do some work and someone caught you, I don't care what your intentions were. That seems skeezy and it's also stupid, because who in their right mind is like, yeah, sometimes I'll just break into my office, fire off some emails, get a little paperwork done, get those TPS reports all on my own time.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. When I worked in the mortgage industry for a brief time, I used to go to work super early and it felt weird for me alone. And I was doing it like I had a badge and I could get in legally. And it felt weird.
And that's the thing. Like, it doesn't exist. And the chief, and that's the thing. The chief of police is a lofty title, and the idea and the power can go to your head. But when you only have 4 subordinates, what does that matter when they all do what you want? Whether it's 4 or 40,000, if they're all doing what you want, what does it fucking matter? The scale.
Right.
In Buckeye Lake with 2,000 people, if you got 4 underlings licking your sack and being like, "Yes, sir, boss," like, "Can I have a water pump?" And you go, "Yes," just don't tell the neighboring county. That's what I would have said if I were James Hanzey.
Even though the doctor's saying you're not allowed to be on duty until the 12th.
The doctor said you return to duty. That's a return to work.
Right.
Yeah, right. You return to duty, which is a return to work on the Monday, right? That's a date and a time. We love fucking dates and times because we know where to meet people and we know when to do things.
Yes.
The thing is, that date and time had not happened yet.
But he
and
was
then you shot
gearing
the
up
floor.
for it. He was gearing up for his Monday start, so he needed to like.
Fire off around on Saturday.
I was
ladies' floor.
physically working to get paid. Well, I got paid through sick time, but physically showing up.
I wasn't physically working to get paid, but I was working to pay my debt to society.
Hey, he's a hero. He was volunteering his
Yeah, he was
time.
looking for the dude who got shot by the other dude after having a very violent interaction with a very old lady with crazy hair, several cats, and lounging in a bathrobe in the street.
Showing up and doing the work. But I considered myself on duty because I'm in the village. I live in the
You
village.
can't. So you're on duty 24/7. That's why, like, you're fine going home because, like, hey, I'm on duty when I'm sleeping too, and like no one pitches a fit then. I guess.
I'm the chief of police, so I'm
Olivia Benson
24/7.
gets phone calls when
Chief
she's
of
at home.
police.
So yeah, I considered myself on duty.
I get the mail.
Okay, so if one of your officers acted the same way you did, in the same manner, you wouldn't have a problem with that then at all? If they were not due to come back to work for 2 more days and they took a call in the village, they took a call, even though they're not cleared to come back for 2 more days, would you per se, you have a problem with that?
If it was the same situation that I was put in,
Sure, call exactly the same.
no, I would not.
Okay.
You
Exactly the
wouldn't.
same.
You wouldn't question literally all those red flags we covered earlier, like the highly unbelievable story, the contextual evidence of the trailer park and the old disheveled lady, the fact you got a personal phone call on your cell phone and it wasn't reported as a 911. Like all these things were just like, phew. And like if one of your officers who was on duty was like, "Hey chief," you'd be like, "Yeah, I'll be right there. Let me just turn off cops."
Well, and
And
what
why
I
is
think
that?
is weird too is like he knew who the woman was, regardless of if he
From
knew her at
McDonald's.
McDonald's or not. He
Well,
would have known if she
no.
has his number.
No, the daughter or the niece or whoever. It was a
Somebody
younger-
else called him?
She called. I want to say it was the niece, but yeah, she called James because she knows James from being a firefighter.
Oh,
And she's
okay.
the one who called James on his personal phone to tell him about her,
Her aunt.
aunt or
Yeah,
mom.
yeah. Okay.
And so it's so fucking beyond, like, it's a game of telephone that, like, even a preschooler would be like, something's up with this shit. But
Yeah.
James Hanzey is like, you know what? I'm the chief of police.
This is fine.
Give me your gun.
Because there was imminent risk of
Imminent,
death.
intimate danger to my genitals.
He was there. He had plenty enough people to take care of what the situation was. And I believe he has the,
Who's this he?
what word do I want to use?
You want to use private
Jesus.
duty to do something, right?
Yeah,
I
and,
assume that's where you're going. with it.
yeah,
Okay.
yes, I do. I would not have a problem with that at all. I mean, the accidental discharge was very unfortunate and a bad timing, but, you know, no, I wouldn't have.
Very unfortunate and bad timing. Like, the mayor hates me. It's super unfortunate. I shot
This
into the-
sucks.
Jesus Christ.
I lost a finger.
Like, imagine, we've probably all been in a situation where, like, a service person, like an AC unit person or an electrician or a plumber comes in. I mean, you see the YouTube videos of, like, the guy who goes up to fix your AC unit, like your split level unit and your crawl space falls through. Or,
Oh, yeah.
because human error will happen. But, like, we shouldn't obviously hold policemen to different standards because they're still humans, but we don't expect them to have like these hilarious gaffes. But it has to happen. Like, no matter your intention, mistakes happen because of oversight. But like, this is stupid hilarious.
Have a problem with that at all because of the imminent danger, and it was just the way she was saying it, you know, just like he's dying, please help, please help, please help.
Okay.
So, which means, I take that to mean that he was talking to the old lady, not
That's what I'm
her.
saying. I thought that the old woman called him.
No, the old woman didn't call him. The relative called him.
Right.
But I forgot that because it happened so quickly. Like, that's all that he's going to say that interaction with the old woman was.
Yeah. She's dying. He's dying on the floor. And blood
want
everywhere.
to see a picture of this old woman to see like if she was a put together old lady, but I don't think so. If he's like, hello, it's a trailer. Nobody's around. There's no shenanigans. Like, trailers are a magnet for shenanigans. And when fights erupt or gunshots go off, like, people congregate to shenanigans.
Well, and didn't they say, because you're right, like the niece called because she found her in the road, right? She was in the middle of the road screaming about something.
Either that or she called.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah, she must have found her. Somebody must have found her because if she'd left the house fleeing from these two gunmen who then turned on each other.
So then if...
But that's the other thing. Like, it lends itself to like, this is bullshit, because if it's a small enough town that a close enough blood relative who
was
presumably
there.
was just driving by can notice their aunt's mother, whoever, in the road and be like, you know what? I'm not going to pull over and take care of this myself. I'm going to call. And because that's the thing.
She may have stopped and handed the phone to her.
But then if she's there, why not touch base with her too and be like, okay, what's up with that? Because shouldn't that family member be like, yeah,
she's got dementia?
because then again, the son shows up because he has
Right.
already been a part of the story. When does he show up? Obviously after the shooting.
Yeah.
But like, did the niece or whoever the first person was not know about the dementia? Was there no, like, again, my favorite phrase, reading of the room, where like when they got there, they talked to the people involved to see if they were competent and or weirdos? James Hanzey is just like, yeah, give me your gun.
I'm gonna shoot the floor.
Who's responsible for your auxiliary hours?
Jeff or Mayton.
Okay.
Not me.
And who's responsible for are you his boss?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're responsible for him and he's responsible for the hours. So
I get the mail.
So are you also responsible
You
for
get
the
the mail
hours
every
that go
day?
to city council?
I check the voicemail.
You're turning those into city council, right, as a document?
As the end of the month report, you mean?
Yeah, the end of the month report where you've got all the hours listed for everybody that worked, all the calls were taken, all that stuff.
Yeah, we get the calls and everything out of the computer system.
Okay.
And Jeff would estimate the hours.
How's he
Estimate.
estimating the hours? I'm confused on that part.
I work 80 hours a week.
Uh-huh.
So I would estimate 80 hours. Right? That makes sense.
I mean, 80 hours a week.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. That's 160 a month, so he'd put 160. He would
I'm
take what
surprised
he
they
was
wouldn't
supposed
be
to work.
exempt employees. Oh, then again, they wouldn't be able to get overtime. Just kidding.
Divide that by 2. That's what he would get. Just down the line like that.
Okay, that's for the full-timers, right?
For the paid, yes.
For the paid people. And Jeff or
Do you remember when I said auxiliary, you stupid bastard?
Maynham was in charge of all the paid people to make sure that all of their numbers were accurate?
Well, we would turn in them on the pay slip.
Right, but who was ultimately responsible for that? To make sure those numbers are correct?
Those numbers were estimations. They were never correct, not meant to be correct.
You guys are paid by the hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you get paid by the hour, an estimate by the hour? How does that work? Because we have a time clock, we gotta turn stuff, I mean, we literally have a time clock.
So we don't.
Right, which is crazy, but it keeps track of our hours.
Which is crazy, but it keeps
So
track of our
crazy.
hours. That's something I kind of miss. There was only one job I ever had that had a physical time clock, and we used time cards. And it was my literal first job.
My first job had punch cards too.
I kind of miss it because it was sort of fun. Like, 'cause-
I was always very anal about making sure that my fucking time lined up on the square, and goddamn, that was hard.
well, whatever, if you're a weirdo about it. But it was just a physical process that was more enjoyable than like, because ever since, and maybe they still exist out there, but I guarantee more than 80% of you out there watching, if you have a job, you clock in on like a computer
Yeah.
or an app or some
Or
shit.
not at all, because you're exempt.
Or you're exempt or whatever, you just show up. But the moral of the story is, like, that was, I don't know, I'm sure, because I'm seeing it as something it maybe wasn't, because I'm sure the proletariat of the old days see the time clock as like a shackle or whatever. It's just one of those things that like you associate with annoying work.
That's the same thing as it would be online.
Right, but that's the thing. I think fans of physical media can back me up on this, that like time clocks are not only enjoyable, like it gives you something you can look at. Like when you type your thing, everything is going digital now, so it's harder and harder to get like hard copies and stuff. And if you're somebody who like wants to look at things, as annoying as that is in this day and age, I understand. It's still fun to have like something get swallowed up by a avocado colored machine that was produced in the early 50s, have it go and make a bunch of funny noise and then spit something back out and go like, yeah, I did that.
Oh, mine was just a stamp. Like it was a machine, but I would take my card and push it in the thing and it would clink.
Maybe
and
that
it would
was
give a
just
stamp
spoiled.
like a librarian stamp.
They probably don't exist anymore, but it was originally Jungle Jim's Playland that changed name to Jeepers Indoor Amusement Park for Kids or whatever bullshit. And that was my first job. And like you can't see this photo, right? Or this painting hanging on the wall, but it was roughly the size of this painting. So like
12 by 16.
Let's say 16 by 24. It's a little larger. Because it was big and it had like the rotary clock. Nothing was digital, it was all analog, but you'd stick it in there and it would pull it down with like really loud, heavy motors that feel like they were pulled by gears, and you would hear like a heavy ka-chunk, ka-chunk of like steel parts impacting your paper after hitting an ink pad.
The one thing I appreciate, I'm exempt now, but when I was clocking in, clocking out on my computer, I appreciate doing it on the computer by like when you clock out for lunch, then you can see how long you've worked, so you can calculate exactly how long you have left, as opposed to.
I don't give a fuck about any of that. Here's the annoying part. This is letter of the law versus spirit of the law. 8 hours is the workday.
Yeah.
Typically half an hour to an hour is a lunch break. If an employee says, I am on board not taking a lunch break, just working 8 straight hours, please fucking let them.
Oh, yeah, I agree, but you can't.
SOP, I don't give a fuck. Whatever. Somebody on the back end, have someone on HR pad the time clock and put a half an hour in of not being paid. Just let me go home.
We used to have a time clock, and for some reason I don't know why it went out.
But it fell off into one of the cars we crushed. It was weird.
Don't work.
Guy installed it into his truck. He thought it was a water pump.
If I estimate you work 20 hours, but you only work 15 hours, am I not cheating a village out of 5 hours? Or your police department, with your limited budget, are you cheating yourselves out of hours if you do it that way?
No, because our hours was not estimated. The hours worked was by our time sheets.
Okay.
And then it was verified with Mary over here.
Okay, how would Mary know how much you worked?
Oh, she would see us.
She'd see us. She's the only person who was there 24/7. That's Mary for you. She was just a torso, like her legs fell off, so they bolted her ass to a chair in the office, and she never leaves. So she'd see it. She'd go, "Hey, I'm turning into a flesh blob slowly. What's up, James Hanzey?"
You would write your hours down.
Right.
I mean, like if you go out there.
He keeps wiping off the table like he spilled salt.
Right now, I'll sit here with you. You'll see 6 a.m. on my timesheet, but you won't have a time ending.
Okay.
Because when I would,
Because you assholes pulled me into here.
I would write, okay, let's say I'm up 4 today. I write 4 p.m.
We all know how math works, number one. We know how time cards work. We know what clocking in and clocking out is. We're adults. However, when you get into an interrogation type situation, you've got to go like, here's the thing. I'm going to burn 40 minutes talking about minutia because I don't want to go to jail yet.
In the middle of hours, and you come over here and you put the hours.
Yes. Do you have you don't do any kind of trip sheets or anything then, right? 'Cause you're the chief?
We mean trip sheets.
Like a trip log, like
No.
your officers do when they're out
No.
riding around, driving around and stuff. Which makes sense. You're the chief of police, so you're just putting in your time, your hours, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally.
So who is ultimately responsible for making sure those hours are correct.
Are you talking on the sheet that,
I'm talking about the sheets that you guys turn in to Mary. Who is responsible for those numbers that go over there?
ultimately me?
Okay.
But I didn't do their time sheets. They would do, each officer does their own time sheet.
Sure.
Like if you two work for me, you do your time sheet, you do your time sheet, and then on Monday mornings when I come into work when it was supposed to be turned in, I'd look,
Right.
all right, I know your day's off,
Right.
and I'm gonna know if you're, you had to work over or something. I'm gonna know that, and I just verify it through there, and then I sign it.
So you know when somebody has to work over or comes in for somebody else, they notify you, so you know about
Yeah.
it. Okay.
God, you mentioned his arms before, and all I can see are
It's
weird
insane,
arms.
right? Is his tiny little arms. But here's the thing: this must be every industry or job or whatever has a standard set of vocabulary words that just get rotated, and this is much like an office type setting where it's like verify this and taking out the sheets and blah blah blah. I know this, I know that. It's all standard vernacular. Like, and I'm going to liken it to this. When I was an electrician, pipe, boxes, wire, J-turn, shepherd's hook, daisy chain, these were all very heavily used parts of my vocabulary. But it's one of those things where if you aren't in the know of that culture, workspace, or whatever, it just seems like highly stupid, pedantic bullshit. But the problem is there's no other words that can be used. So you just end up talking in circles, whether you're talking about timesheets or running pipe and wire. There's, pipe and wire and box never change. So when you go pipe, wire, box, it does seem like you're eating a never-ending supply of chocolates a la I Love Lucy, and you go, holy shit, please talk about something else.
All right. So then you're ultimately responsible for making sure the numbers are accurate when they go to Mary, who I assume Mary does some other report as well, or did at the time.
I have
Possibly corrupt as well.
no clue. We just turn in our time sheets to her.
But you make a report for city council, or for village council. I'm sorry, if I keep calling it city council, I'm
Yeah.
just used to this.
You're a village.
You make a report for village council, right?
The end of the month, they would get a report.
He has the body type hunchback from 300. Oh, yeah, he does.
Oh.
But he had strong arms. The hunchback from 300 did everything he needed to do to try and be a gladiator. James just sat on his ass and ate McDonald's
Report, yes.
and never gained weight in his arms.
On the fire department and
He's
every
just
street
constantly
department,
pushing
everything else.
papers, so
And
he's
that
got
report is done by who?
We're
thinner
making-
arms.
Okay, so Vermaiden does the report. He does report up, and I would assume, since you're the guy in charge ultimately, and you're
I
the
also
one
think if the
responsible
shirt was not a size too big,
It can't. No, it has. That's the problem. The shirt isn't a size too big. It's just bunched up because he's been, sinking into his chair like a fat grub into a log. The problem is the size of the, here, really quick. You can see here, the size of the shirt is appropriate for the bulk of the man. However, you can see there is a 60% emptiness, a void here in the sleeve, or maybe 40%. 60% is the arm, 40% void is the sleeve, because look at these little stick arms. Look at the girth of this man, this head, and then you go, whoop, he stuck my arms on his body.
numbers ultimately. You look at that report.
No,
You don't look at the report that Vermaiden's doing?
no.
Nah.
He would come in or on a Friday when I'm off on Fridays,
Uh-huh.
and he knows Monday is the council meeting. He would do it up, and then
He would do it upright.
would take it over and give it to Valerie. There's plenty of times I would never see that report.
Okay.
You're the boss.
So nobody looks at what Vermaiden's doing? As far as the numbers go?
On
the
something
reports?
like that, no.
Okay.
Because they were just estimated numbers of, he could put me down for 160 hours a month.
I'm talking about, okay, I see where you're going with that. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Let's go back, let's say the auxiliaries. Who keeps track of their numbers then? I got where paid guys are, Vermaiden's in charge of the paid guys. I got it.
Yeah, you remember 13 minutes ago, and I was like, who's in charge of the auxiliary hours? And you say Vermitten, and then we went down this convoluted bullshit.
Vermitten.
So Vermitten's also in charge of the
Yes.
auxiliaries. Okay? So when those numbers go over, do you check their numbers too to make sure that they're accurate? Because you said, like you said, you know who's coming and going in your police department.
Well, he'd put the hours down for them. They were,
So what he's getting at here is, it may seem like stupid and bullshit because the hours that he's going to talk about are like 16 hours a month for these people who haven't necessarily put in their 16 hours or, in the worst case scenario, even been employed by the city.
Nice.
And are still getting money. So that's like a multiple level tier of corruption that implies a bunch of possibilities. Because the person okaying these checks that's getting the money sent out, do they know that the person doesn't work there? Is the money getting to that person? Was it like, because if what's their face, he'll get into it. If they haven't worked there in a while, what I want to know is, after they left, did James Hanzey keep the money going but switch the direct deposit account to his? Or was he paying hush money? What was going on? Because there's no reason for people to get a 16-hour a month paycheck, which amounts to probably like, what, a few $100?
Yeah, 16 hours?
Yeah,
That's 2
16 hours
days.
a month.
2 days a month.
some of them worked
weird.
16 hours a month. Some of them worked more.
Some of them worked less.
Some were a lot less.
In fact, a lot of them worked less.
I have no clue.
But
You're the chief of fucking I have no clue. Some people work and some people don't. What am I supposed to do? Be their boss?
What?
I'm going to B-dubs, bitch.
you know who comes, but you know who's coming and going, Jimmy. That's the whole thing I want to get at. You know who's coming and going in the department, and there are people like Schilling. Is it Schilling? Schiller?
Mm-hmm.
I know he's
Jason Schilling.
Jason Schilling.
Yeah.
I talked to lots of people, and they said he only comes during taser training. That's it. And he's listed for 16 hours a month.
Correct.
Every single month.
Correct. Because, Frank,
This is the thing, right? I was in a job where I went through 4 bosses, like an office manager after office manager after office manager. And what I had to do was do what each office manager said because they would come in and change shit.
Yeah.
James here goes, well, the mayor 4 mayors ago said a thing that I could do. Then the mayor 3 mayors ago said another thing I can do. And I never brought it up to the next mayor. And I just sort of did that thing. And I was like, fuck you, Patty Wells.
Yep.
Frank Foster, our mayor,
You got to follow your boss.
said he did our radar, he did our taser, and he did something. What else did he do? Radar, taser.
Glory hole.
I want to say self-defense. The mayor said he saved us so much money without having to farm out that training that he would give you the 16 hours every month.
Gotcha.
That was Foster,
So your old mayor,
Frank Foster.
2 mayors, is that 2 mayors ago?
2 mayors ago?
So your mayor 2 mayors ago said that was okay.
Yes,
So you guys continue to put 16 hours on the monthly report that's turned into village council,
yes.
even though he was not working 16 hours.
He wasn't physically working 16 hours. That's
Right.
But he would come out
He worked mentally 16 hours, so give him a break.
Yeah.
every once in a while.
I agree. No, they said
But he come in every once in a while. He did our tasers, pepper spray, and self-defense. And he come in every once in a while.
that too. They said he could come out every now and then. But he wasn't coming out 16 hours a month, was he?
But then imagine being one of the flies stuck in the web of the malignant narcissistic web of James Hanzey the Spider. Because as soon as his fat ass fell, everybody who was getting those 16 hours probably had charges against them and or misdemeanors or whatever.
Something, right.
The dude who took the water pump. Every dumb fucking scumfuck bootlick motherfucker, except for the dude keeping the notebook, probably had something brought against them and or had to take a plea to testify against Hanzey or whatever. And like, is it worth it? 16 hours a month. to at the end of that be like, yeah, I'm technically a criminal. Cool, right?
It's crazy.
No.
No. So when you're taking a report and it's being generated by the police department and it's going over to village council as him having 16 hours a month, that's not accurate.
It is technically incorrect, which is the best type of incorrect, right, guys?
It may not be 16 hours. I believe it is accurate because the mayor, Frank Foster, said, we will trade him this 16 hours a month if he continues to train us like that. And that's the way we did it.
I understand what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
16
I
hours
get
a
it.
month to do some training isn't a lot. The dude could have done 16 hours a month for training. He could have shut up for an hour and be like,
Here's
nobody.
The thing. The certifications for literally anything is not monthly. Like, no one is going to ask for taser, self-defense, whatever the things he does. I don't think anything is needed monthly. Like, shooting, any of that is like, at most, maybe yearly you'd want to double check and see like the people can still drive and do pull off J turns and like hit a target and pepper spray the right pair of eyeballs. But on the monthly?
Well, I'm not thinking about it as in a small village police department. I'm thinking of it more of like refresher stuff.
But it's still, even in a huge department, outside of like new trainees or new hires or whatever, which would be totally separate, like your yearly certifications would come around.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to monthly pull bullshit. Like, imagine having to do like, literally like the first day of training that you do at any job every month, because that's basically what you do. You have to do shooting again, tasers again, recertifying and training, and it's essentially like 16 hours a month. To you and me doesn't seem like much because we all work 40 hours a week. But if you're doing jack shit and the things are your yearly certifications, it does feel like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, but a guy like that's invaluable. But you want that guy to actually work. And when you're presenting those numbers to the village council, the numbers don't match what is actually going on. So if you're putting 16 hours down, it looks like that guy's been there for 16 hours that month. He put in at least 16 hours of time, right?
Right.
If you wanted to look at it that way, yes.
I don't want to look at it that way, Jimmy. It's the reports, you stupid bitch.
Well, I really don't know how else to look at it, Jimmy, when it comes to that, because, again, yeah, valuable guy. You want to keep him around. You want to keep him happy, but he's not putting the numbers in that you are saying he's putting in. Does that make sense?
Right, but every time I would turn in his time card, I would put an asterisk, and in the asterisk would lead you to the legend. The legend would say 2 mayors ago, Frank Foster said.
I see the number side of things. Okay, I see your number side of things.
I see the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law was I didn't give a fuck, right?
Also on this side of the tracks, the mayor said, do this because he trains us like this. 1 month we'd have our taser, and then it would be like a month and a half, 2 months we'd have to do our radar, and then the other. So I see where you're saying number-wise 16.
But still,
So with
month and a half radar?
yeah, that seems
This
like
is
a lot.
bullshit.
But like I personally, for my job, I run a program once a month for 1 hour. Is a presentation by a physician or whatever, and the people that require continuing education credits get 1 credit for every hour that they do a training for
But-
their recertification.
Frame this in a context. You work at a company that employs more people in this state, in this city, that this village has.
No, I understand. I'm just that's the way I'm thinking of this dude that's
Right.
supposed to be there for 16
but
hours
you
a
have
month.
to scale everything down to
Yeah.
a micro because that's the thing. A company can have more employees in this town.
Yeah.
Like Barrow's Pizza. Like if you added up all the franchises in Arizona, it would probably surpass the population of Buckeye Lake. And that's been a family tradition since 1980 something.
But
Not a
I'm
sponsor.
doing what the mayor said to do.
Up to.
But
Okay, so let's say the mayor didn't say to do that.
Huh?
Let's say the mayor did not tell you to do that. All right, let's say that doesn't have anything to do with it. Is that still an accurate number if the mayor doesn't say that you can do it? If you was 16,
If you take away the special condition, then sure, it's wrong. Like, would your house be dry if it weren't raining?
probably.
Unless it were snowing.
on there, does he work 16 hours a month?
I wouldn't do it.
I know, but is that accurate? Is that accurate that he works? Let me just say it this way. Is it accurate that he works? He comes out to Buckeye Lake and physically
Classic letter of the law bullshit. Hey, I know, like, we all get what's going on here, but for the record and for the criminal charges we'll bring against you, I need you to go ahead and put this in black and white that, yeah, that was not legally what you should be doing.
It was not on the level.
Even though it's you have jurisdiction over under 2,200 people.
physically works 16 hours a month.
I would love to live
okay.
in a village.
That's what I wanted to get at. Okay. Now, Vicki Glover.
Maybe a hamlet.
When's the last time
Is
she
a
worked for you
hamlet
guys?
smaller than a village?
I think so.
Been 2 years.
See, in my mind, village is like so small, it's
Huts.
like still huts. And a hamlet is basically smaller than that. So it's like the mud that a group of between 30 and 120 people like carved out of a mountain. They live inside of it. Like the, oh God, the Lurking Fear, if you're a Lovecraft fan, the hamlet where all those people are attacked by the Lurking Fear. It's wild stuff.
Over 2 years. Would it be accurate that she worked in October of 2017?
Would it?
Oh, fun fact. A hamlet is a small settlement that has no central place of worship and no meeting point. A village is a group of houses and associated buildings larger than a hamlet and smaller than a town.
Okay, so if you get
a church, you're a village.
Yeah, you need. It's so weird the stipulations we put on things when it's all on a gradient. But like, if you live in a place where you, but then what place doesn't have a church, right? America was built on that.
There's
sort
a
of
town
bullshit.
oh God, where is it? Fuck. I drove through.
In Appalachia, there's probably a lot.
I've driven through it before, but it's like the street is literally like 3 buildings, and it has its own name, and
Well,
that must be a hamlet
That's the thing.
because there was no
sure.
church.
We've got places like that here in Arizona where you have between 3 and 7 buildings worth of town, but nobody lives there. Like, and they could be like kitschy and like
But there's a church.
touristy, like Tortilla Flats, which has like
Right.
under 400 people and it has 4 buildings and no one lives there, but there's a post office, so it's still considered something.
An entity of something. Maybe it's a hamlet because there's no.
Maybe that's in the government's eyes. You must have like a post office, right? Because like, if you don't have a post office, you're not where the government is going to send shit.
Well, that could be a meeting point for all we know. Could
Right,
be.
so maybe the meeting point could be a post office. You get it could be secular, but yeah, Tortilla Flats in the middle of nowhere has 4 buildings and a post office, so it gets to call itself a town, maybe not a hamlet. Although I think a hamlet is quainter than a village.
Yes.
Personally, it's your opinion.
No, but she got 16 hours for that month too, on the report that you guys turned in to village council.
Spoiler alert: she hasn't
How's
worked there
that? 'Cause she's not
anymore.
on the department.
Exactly. She's not on the department.
No one took her off the sheet.
No one took her off the
No.
sheet, but somebody filled out that she worked for 16 hours.
Yeah.
Can anyone guess how long she'd been receiving 16 hours after she had left and someone was goofily filling in those things?
7 years, Marty.
It was like 2.
Just
Tortilla
16
Flats
every month.
has a population of 6 people. It is an unincorporated part of Maricopa County.
But they've got a post office.
The residents are only employees who work at the tourist attraction.
Right, but we
That's
all
it.
knew that.
And you don't have a problem with that? As a chief of police,
That I do.
Oh,
yes.
I would certainly have a problem with that.
That I do.
Not only
Yes.
that, we've got Bartow. He works a lot, I understand, but not all the time. Well, what's the other name here? Bear.
Tedra?
Tedra does not work 16 hours a month, but it's on there for 16 hours a month. Every month that she's been there, she's got 16 hours a month. I call her, she says, no, that's not accurate.
And that's the thing that is confusing to me, because again, he had to do his due diligence, so I guarantee he did call her. And if she's saying no, that's not accurate, is she just like immediately owning up to the fact that she's been taking 2 years worth of free money from the city,
Or is she really not getting it at all?
and it's going into Hanzey
Yeah.
or someone else's pocket? Because
Yeah.
not big in any Buckeye Lake establishment, but like government establishments probably would have a direct deposit.
Right.
And if he is the chief of police and no one is double checking anything, maybe no one's noticing that several of these 16-hour checks are going to an account that maybe is associated with nobody.
I call the guy she rides with, Haas.
Jeff Haas.
Jeff
Haas.
says, no, she does not work 16 hours a month. Yeah, you guys put 16 hours a month on that sheet.
Again,
You understand, that's a criminal charge. That could be a criminal charge.
No
to do
monetary
it.
there's no
value.
monetary value.
There's no monetary value. You're making it public record.
Which doesn't make sense to me, because if we're going to pay people by the hour, the pay they receive per that hour of work is a monetary value, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a bureaucratic bullshit thing. We go, well, it's not, because you say time theft when maybe there's no legitimate legal monetary value for time theft. It's just a policy and procedure breach. But I would say that's theft if we're going to say that we're going to exchange money for your time, and your time is not spent in the way we're agreeing to give you money for. I mean,
Yes.
this is a bureaucrat's wet dream, right? Like, dig into this to be like, well, time is worth money, and if you work here and you agree to accept this much, you've stolen exactly this much,
Right.
which is a crime. Hello?
Which is a crime.
You're falsifying a public document.
Yes.
Because
Right, so they leaned into the falsifying of a public document, which technically would be a much more severe crime, because if you're falsifying a document that you give to a government official, it's probably way more intrusive than something like stealing $68 every month or
Right.
whatever.
It's going
Like
over
16
Phyllis
hours
House.
works out to.
You see what I'm saying? So you're falsifying a document that goes over there, and I don't know why. I don't get it. I really don't
Why?
understand it. But I mean, this is a place to explain it, Jimmy. If you're going to, I mean, this is where
If.
it gets explained.
Well, sure, I know this is where it gets explained. Jeff did them, and probably I should have critiqued them.
Probably.
But, that's my bad. I'm sorry about that. But
I just did a big old whoopsie daisy for 2 years. I didn't check his work. To be honest, I've never checked his work. It's just the last 2 years when people kept quitting and we kept paying them. That's the thing that really sticks in my craw about this case, because I've never looked into it very deeply. So I don't know if it's Hanzey or someone else in the back end who was just taking the money, or if the people were getting the money. But it is an insane amount of people all getting 16 hours who never show up.
Yeah.
But Jeff did them.
So apparently
who's
he
ultimately
served
responsible?
34 years as a police officer in this county, and 5 of them, the last 5, were as police chief.
That's insane. He's like 56. So was he a fireman for like 8 minutes?
He probably was a fireman while he's going through the police academy, and then
Yeah, again, for like 8 minutes?
yeah.
Responsible for those hours. You are. That's what we just said, right?
You're responsible for them.
And it was
Okay?
just like
And
a vote.
If it's something
The
that,
final vote
you
was
know,
5 to
you
2
screwed up
against
with,
James Hanzey, who served on the force for more than 34 years.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, if you're a small town,
Yeah.
So what?
Village council.
5-2. So a massive vote of 7.
7.
And all you need, like most of the 5 people who voted for him didn't know shit about Dick. Just saw his record, say, "Oh well, there's so many years, whatever."
Yeah.
The 2 people who voted against him probably didn't have their heads up their asses.
Village Council President Kitty Zwizzler confirmed the firing.
You should have more oversight.
It's not to say we didn't appreciate his 34 years of service.
You're right. I probably should have, but
Probably.
you delegate someone,
The mayor
something to someone.
was like,
and you
he
have
was guilty of incompetency, inefficiency, immoral conduct, insubordination, neglect of duty, and or additional acts of misfeasance, maleficence.
Yeah, he's a public or a perpetual nuisance. He's one of those people who never commits any huge crimes, but we have to, as a society, like suffer these fools gladly until they fill their crime sack with enough grains of sand that we throw them away. Like a murderer fills the sack immediately. Mark Twitchell, he got to kill one dude and he zapped another dude who got away.
Right.
Boom, filled his bag.
Yeah.
James Hanzey had 30 fucking years of bullshit. A little bit here, a little bit there, going home, watching cops, stealing money from a suicide victim that'll come
And out
up
of
later.
all this, he just got fired.
He went to jail.
Oh, not from what the article that I just read.
person. And
He just got
evidently I shouldn't have had faith in that person.
Well, here's the thing. I delegate things to him all the time, constantly, because I'm a supervisor. But what I also do on the back end is I go and check to make sure they're done.
Right.
Not that I don't trust them, but being a supervisor, you have to make sure.
And that's what I should have done.
Yeah, and
Whoops.
let's. The biggest thing is, and especially in our job, is accountability. We
Right.
all have to be accountable. Ultimately, whatever I
This guy stayed silent for nearly 40 minutes. And now he's like, here's the thing about this, James. Now it's time for me to come in. And like, he's not going to come in and like be a bad cop. He's going to be a carbon copy
Of the other guy.
first cop, but just drinking palm juice.
I screw
Yeah.
up, and he's my supervisor.
right.
It goes on him. He actually screws up if I screw up. And you're the department head, right? I mean, everything under you falls on your shoulders, correct?
Yeah, and when I would delegate things to Andy, and Andy would do it, and it'd be done right. And I probably
Cool story.
And I shouldn't even use the word probably. I expected the same thing out of Jeff Vermaeten.
Those 6 years as police chief, I should have done literally anything expected of me. Whoops, right, guys? But hey, guess what? The next 6 years, be on track.
Sure.
Yep.
And and I thought, well, I've known Jeff for a long time. He's not a screw up. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And you're right. I should have said, let me have that report.
You're
Because I
right.
honestly never.
I should have said, give me that thing. Let me do my job up in this shit. But you know what? I was like, fuck it. I didn't want to do it. I want to go home and watch cops in a t-shirt.
See the report. He would either do it on Friday.
So
or
he
he'd
was
come in on
indicted
Monday
for
when I
2
was
felony
working.
charges, but I cannot find a sentencing
Well, since the municipality is so small, he might have just skated with a firing.
He probably did. From everything that I'm seeing.
But the problem is, since the internet exists, like any time before, like maybe let's say 2004, he probably could have just skated being a shit stain among a population of 2,000, and where he could have moved 8 miles up the road and 2 towns over and been totally unknown.
Right.
But
Yeah.
thanks to the internet, even if he did not get any charges or prison time that stuck or whatever, here we are watching it.
Yeah, it just says charged with 2 felony counts for improperly accessing a police database.
Right, because
And there's nothing, like, everything I'm looking at for a verdict is
right.
just nothing.
at the end of the day, they don't want to process. Like, it's going to be a stain on them because they let it go on so long. It's going to be a waste of their village's money. And why bother?
Right.
And he would ship it right off to Valerie, and Valerie would print it and give it to the other people, give it to the council.
Okay.
But you're right. I should have had more. Should have
Has
doing this right. But I had, Andy did a hell of a job for me, and I didn't have any problems, and I got into that blind side, you want to say.
So when you guys are computing auxiliary hours, there's no system there, right?
There was a system, and I think Ron did away with it. They had a time. They had it.
How long have you been chief, though?
4 years.
So in 4 years, you've had no system in place to track those hours, right?
Right.
Okay.
He just came in and was like, "Oh, you got nothing?" Or wait, there was something.
Oh, wait.
Let's not do that anymore. We'll see how that shakes out. Not great.
And we have in the last probably 3 months or long, or not as long, there is an auxiliary that says reserve hours now on this big book. They come in and write their time.
They're supposed to,
Supposed to.
but nobody does it, according to everybody I talk to.
Yeah, no, I mean, if one of the
Yeah, you know. Here's the thing, like, as much as I want to dog like computerized systems, it does work as a passive oversight. Because, like, when you have to carry something with you or whatever, check in, there's accountability. But if you got some numbnuts like James here who goes like, there's no such thing as a system, we don't even have something as rudimentary as a time clock, you're all in the honor system, we're going to estimate how much shit goes down.
It's fine. It's fine.
the guys, auxiliaries comes out and slides out and rides with whoever at night, and if I don't hear them on the radio, or they don't stop by my house, I don't know they worked.
And why would they have to stop by? Like, imagine like having a job where you have to stop by your boss's house and be like, "Hey, boss,
You working?
I'm working. You watching Cops? Smell you later."
You need my gun for anything?
Okay.
Borrow this really quick.
Let's go to these checks that were cashed.
Now we're getting into the meat of his. I believe this has to do with his finger, not the burned heel in the George Foreman grill.
For the insurance company. Now, I talked to the insurance company about those checks, and they had some pretty big issues with them. All right? That may be something that I'm going to have to turn over to somebody else to investigate criminally. If it gets to that point, I may have to do that. I don't know what the insurance checks, that when you were transported to the hospital and you were supposed to pay, you were supposed to cash them, and you cashed 4 of them.
Oh, Lord. You gotta be kidding me.
See, Jimmy, the problem with an internal investigation is once it starts rolling, it starts opening the door to all kinds of other stuff that comes in.
You should know this. You're a chief of police.
Right, which is exactly right, which is why it is mind-blowing to me that people who live, well, whatever, if you're going to live a shitty life that can be just unraveled by the merest pulling of a thread or shooting into a lady's trailer, that's the thing, is like, maybe just people don't understand the implications of that, because if you've never come into contact with it like this or personally, you won't realize that if someone has to look into you, once they start peeling the onion, the layers of it fall away pretty readily.
Right.
So it's in your best interest not to become a perpetual nuisance, or if you're going to be a perpetual nuisance, stay a low hum and never have a spike like Mr. Hanzey here. Because when the door opens, everybody who's got a problem with you won't hold back.
Right.
Every person who's got a problem with you, who doesn't want to make a issue for themselves, will gladly open up when someone comes a knocking.
And I have a duty now to at least address it and try to figure out what's going on. In this setting, again, you're under Gary, okay? I can't use anything you say criminally, period. Okay?
Oh, I understand.
So, all right, I want you to understand that.
I took 40 minutes to read the paper.
That's fine.
I was like this, and you were watching me, and it took a long time.
Remember?
This is funny. These
hilarious.
checks, I honestly, wholeheartedly, with my life,
Notice how he didn't say that about literally anything else?
Yeah.
believe they were my Aflac checks. Because I talked to John Purvis, you can call him and ask him, I got him in my phone. He says, you've got a check coming, and you're going to have checks coming for your follow-up visits. I just got a check, and you can run out to my truck, I'll give you the keys. I got $3,100 out there. I just got an Aflac check for this.
Okay.
I honestly,
hand.
wholeheartedly, 1,000,000% believe them checks were mine. This is
That's a
starting
lot
to
of
piss me
percents.
off.
This is starting to piss me off. Not the gross incompetence, the fabrication of documents, the misrepresentation of hours, not the time theft, not the parts theft or the junk cars, none of that.
Nope.
But when he's like, hey, there's 4 checks here that you cashed, and he's like, God damn it! Are you kidding me? Like massive corruption, just water off a duck's back to James Hanzey. But when they talk about an Affleck check, he's like, God damn it, wholeheartedly, 1,000,000%. I believe those checks are mine. The water pump, I don't remember.
Nope.
It's a $14 part. $3,100 wholeheartedly.
I'm
When
not
I
gonna
found
get
out they
pissed
were,
off.
I made arrangements and they were taking money out of my payroll every month.
They mentioned
I didn't fight the system because I honestly believed they were my checks.
So did you get any Aflac checks during that time that you were getting those checks?
Yes.
Okay, so did you wonder like, hey, wait a minute, why is Aflac sending me another check?
No, because he told me that I had money coming from follow-ups.
Gotcha.
This I kind of buy because number one, insurance is confusing. Number two, your average human is, let's charitably describe it as unaware of the goings on of their own policies. At best, at worst, they're fucking stupid. And anybody who receives something in the mail that seems like a windfall, whether it be a credit card you didn't apply for or a check that's in your name or whatever, there's going to be a subsection of society rather that will take the money and run and just hope that everything works out. There's going to be a subsection who calls to be like, hey, I got a check. Can you check on this? And it's just a pain in the ass to someone else because 9.5 times out of 10 it's legitimate and just fucking cash the thing. And everybody else will fall in the middle. But James here, I don't know, man. Like, that's the thing. With his situation, he's number one stupid. So I can buy stupidity toward his own policies, his own whatever, his own life. But I can also see the corruption angle. But in that case, like, it wouldn't help him because those, like, a check is traceable. Like finding a bunch of cash, you go, whoa, windfall. But like a check is going to have a trail back to the place.
Just like a few minutes ago, I go to the hospital. I've been to the hospital since February 4th, every day for 3 hours. I turned in everything he just told me. He said, get everything else you need because you've got follow-up money coming.
I don't, personally, I'm not sure if this is for the finger or the burned heel, because if he has to go every day for 3 hours and they just pulled his finger off, what are they doing to it?
It's probably for his foot because they probably had to debride
But he's healthy enough to get the B-dubs on the reg.
Oh, he's probably got type 2 diabetes.
Accidental insurance.
He's definitely got metabolic
That's
syndrome.
what I
Except
thought
for in his
those
arms.
checks were.
Oh, they're
Have you ever
solid.
recognize those checks now when they come so that you don't cash them? Or is there
Yes.
something that you can say, hey,
Yes.
Yeah, there's a completely different company that apparently I'm not supposed to cash checks from because, number one, maybe my name wasn't even on it, but it must have because if they were, whatever.
can't cash
Doesn't
these
matter.
checks anymore?
Matter of fact, I got another check, and I said, "Who's does this belong to?" I took it to the village. They said it was me, so I cashed that check.
Took it to the village.
Why is he cashing all these checks for something that wasn't work related?
That's the thing. I don't know if this might be for his finger, which may be work related.
When I looked up the article said that the amputation of his finger was not work related. His finger injury was not work related.
So maybe his foot injury, maybe the George Foreman grill was on the clock. I don't know.
That
cheese can strike
guys,
whenever.
was
It's true.
1,000 fucking million%
million.
a mistake on my part. But it was not out to steal anything from anybody.
But did you give it
never
back?
stole anything from anybody.
Everything that is criminally negligent on my part, I have no memory of. But if I do have a memory of it, it was okayed by the mayor. This, however, is 100 fucking thousand fucking million%.
I never would and never will.
Okay.
That check stuff. And we even talked to the lady with Mayor Carroll. And we got it all upset out them taking money out of my checking account every month. I called the lady. This is my bank number. This is my route.
So here's the thing. Frank Wells, Mayor Carroll must have been after him, but before Peggy Wells. So he must have gotten injured in the middle mayor after the first mayor put all these unreasonable policies and procedures that the third mayor hates, apparently.
Yes.
What the fuck is going on in Buckeye Lake?
They got a lot of mayors.
Routing number. They're taking money out. Evidently, they're paid off because they don't take out anymore.
And P.S., you're doing your due diligence. Why don't you know that as a cop?
Right. Why isn't that folder filled with bank statements?
Right. If you're talking to the insurance and they go, yeah, I cashed 4 checks. And if James Hanzey's story is true, which I believe, because if they're taking money from him, he's not going to lie about that.
Right, because he knows that you can see that.
How does this jackass not know that? Did they not talk to the mayor to be like, oh, yeah,
It's fine.
That's
why he only has had 2 counts of felony stuff on his the articles that I read, which meant nowhere.
This interview feels semi-prepared and semi-half-ass, where like they definitely did talk to a bunch of people and put a bunch of interviews in, but stuff like this where you go, what about that? Where like that would be easily verifiable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys have made arrangements to get it taken care of.
Yeah, there was arrangements taken
What
care of.
mayor
Or
ago?
every month that money came out.
Is it still coming out, or you gotta pay?
No.
I just
stopped
told
being
you
paid
it
off 'cause they
stopped.
hadn't been
Listen, hey, while you were digging up all this shit on did you do any research on literally anything else, you fucking lazy
taking
bitch?
their money out.
Okay. All right.
Guys, that upsets me.
But you gotta understand that this.
Gross incompetence, again, whatever. I don't care about that. But these 4 checks,
God damn.
fuck, dude. God damn it.
I think it's because he knew he made a mistake. Like, this is like a legit, like, he knew he made the mistake, he got it rectified, and that's the end. When he was trying to hide the bullshit, now he's like,
when you do something that you can plausibly deny as a mistake and someone finds out, you go, oh, why, God, you cruel bastard. But when you actually make a legitimate mistake and someone catches it, you go, fuck. And there's like legitimate emotion behind it.
yeah. And that's what we're getting. Yeah.
Yeah. For the first thing, it was like, oh, whoa, gross
Shot a hole in
incompetence.
somebody's floor.
Shucky darns. I guess I'll be a better police chief next year. But when the check thing's like, oh, God damn it, I'm serious.
Well, and everything else had to do with other people also. This is just having to do with him and like versus getting the gun from the other dude.
But again, it's still like that. Those were all purpose-driven choices where this was like a legitimate mistake.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I don't want this to be an adversarial
Possibly.
thing, man. I want this to be just all out there, and again, out of respect for you.
Yeah.
And the
I
job
like
you've done
you,
for so
Jimmy.
long,
I love you.
I want to give you opportunities.
I clearly
and
hate
that's
you.
it. I don't
mean-
want to force your hand on anything.
No.
I don't want to give you advice. All I want to do is try to find out everything that
Guys, I don't have nothing to hide.
There was somebody mentioned.
Look at my arms. I don't hide
a
those.
suicide scene where $140 came up missing too. And they said that you had access to the money and that you mentioned that the dead guy wasn't going to miss the money. Do you recall anything about that?
No.
Again, 2,000 people in this town, just by sheer like numbers, potentiality, odds alone, like the number of people who are going to commit suicide in a 2,000 population town, pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in mind as this plays out.
Okay. Oh, no.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Okay. I'll write that down.
Wait
Nothing
for it.
at
Wait
all.
for it.
You guys get a lot of suicides out there?
2,000 people?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, some of 17. Do you remember about how many last year?
The last suicide I was on was with Andy. And the guy had shot himself in a bed, in a bunk bed.
Yep. That's the incident I'm talking about.
Well, I'll be damned. The one suicide in 2017 of a town of 2,000, village of 2,000.
In a bunk bed.
The last one I remember was the one you're exactly talking about, where I slipped for $140 out of the dead dude's wallet.
Well, goddamn.
Yeah.
So if you recall that,
God
you recall some
dang it,
being
James.
exchanged or being taken from the scene.
Andy took everything because I couldn't stand the smell.
Uh-huh.
And I do believe his family came and got everything.
Okay. The deceased family did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? But here's the thing: if you took $140 out of the dead dude's wallet, and then
How
you
would
say,
they know?
well, the family came and took everything. Did they take an empty wallet that you took $140 from, James?
Did they know he had $140 in his wallet to begin with?
P.S.
James?
It's 2017. You're walking around with $140 in cash?
Maybe he was old.
Yeah.
All right. Log sheets. Who's responsible for keeping the guys' log sheets? The guys and gals that work out there, their road log sheets.
Not me.
They write it out during the night and put it in the box.
There are 3 months from last year completely missing.
Road logs, or are you talking about?
Both road logs and actually city council, the reports that you guys send to city council, those are also missing.
Now I know Peggy said something.
3 months worth.
This is a confusing village.
Disparate months. But that's the thing. This interrogator is like lethally scattered. He doesn't give him any time to really focus on any one issue because, number one, there are so many, but number two, since there are so many, it's like you might as well load them all into your gun, and when one seems to be losing steam, stoke
more
up
on the
another
floor.
and see what happens. And that's what we are seeing is like we're bouncing from like how many issues have we covered? Like time theft, theft from the vehicles they impound.
Yeah, the water pump.
The documents they give to city council, like literally every 10 minutes he's changing topics to be like, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem.
It's crazy to me. I mean, I guess I don't really know the system of like the police department and stuff and the like city council. I wouldn't have thought they had any relation. I guess being in a village, maybe they would be more so because they're a government entity altogether.
Well, I'm sure like the city of Mesa council has a lot to do because they're the, you know, you got the mayor, you've got their underlings. There's checks and balances all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like on a mechanical level, they've got to, you know, because money trickles down and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, in a town of 2,000.
And like he's the one in charge of all of that?
Yeah, it's a council of 7. So you got a mayor, 7 people, and then 4 people in the police force. And what, like maybe between like 3 and 6 firefighters?
Maybe some paramedics.
Right, there's not a lot of room for bureaucracy there.
Yeah. I wonder if they have a hospital.
Whatever. More like that's the thing. That maybe that's why he was only, because 4 years seems like a long time. He was chief doing this shit for 4 years.
5 years, yeah. He was 5 years as a chief, and then the 29 as a police officer.
Right, but that's the thing. It maybe in any other larger system, maybe that's it. Is it easier or harder to hide in a bigger system? Because you can be a shitbag and hide in bureaucracy because there are so many levels. People just lose interest before you become a big enough nuisance. But if you're small like James here,
it's a lot easier to see the issues.
Maybe, but also there's a lot more permissive attitudes in small towns because you go, oh yeah, I know them personally or whatever.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Something about them.
They're all missing. The whole month, like 3 months worth. You know, I think it was
That's a
April,
lot.
July.
It was April, July, and November.
Yeah.
And yes,
Yeah,
correct.
because I was looking for them yesterday for her.
Okay. Yeah. Any idea what happened to those?
Just months, unconsecutive months of paperwork disappearing.
I mean, I'm not trying. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate, but at least it's not consecutive because that would look even worse than
I don't
random.
think so. That just feels like, because if like 3 months go missing, maybe there was consecutive feels more accidental because you could say a filing system where a box that happened to hold 3 months, boom, gone in a fire or a flood or whatever. But April, like if you go spring, one in summer, and one in fall, you go, what the fuck happened there? It's a highly specific triple set of very small fires.
Yeah, it could be end
I
of
talked to
quarters.
Jeff Mayton, because he gathers them up, puts them in a big envelope. He does the monthly report, copies it, shoves it in with the road logs, flips it over and writes road logs and stats, then the month and the year, and then he takes the
Feels it, shoves it, flips it, writes it, sticks it. That's how we
And
do
signs it. You got signs it too. He's-
Fucking Buckeye Lake.
other
I
report
wanna
over
live
to
there.
Valerie. I asked him what he done with them. He has no clue what he done with them.
Why are you allowing them to leave the office in the first place? I know
Huh,
that
yeah.
everybody's mentioned everybody's got stuff at home. Why has anybody got anything at home?
Their police station is run like a Zia Records, where as long as it's used, you can borrow it.
Why does Jeff Mayton have any paperwork at home? Any files?
Seriously?
The only thing he would have at home would be his qualifications for us, and there are his copies. And then when Peggy was asking me about the qualifications, I didn't know Jeff already put them all together, and they were in the cabinet right by his desk.
Gotcha.
So there was.
And let me
Gotcha.
ask you this, Jimmy. And again, this has got to stay here with this stuff.
Again.
Did you guys ever kind of cheat your way through the qualifications? Because I looked at your qualifications, and you know, if you shot, you've only missed one round, you know, throughout 3 different guns in a couple of different years, and then you went to try to qualify this time and couldn't hit anything. Something jumps out right there, and just for me as being an investigator. And then when I talked to everybody, they said they don't watch you qualify. No one's seen you qualify besides Vermeda.
I qualified before everybody because I was told that I have to watch them
Okay.
in case I have to testify in court. Yes, they did.
Oh my god, I thought her name was Jeff Goff.
Jeff Goff?
Oh, message retracted.
Somebody is like texting, I think.
They do well, and Vermeijen wasn't their trainer.
Were those
hilarious.
100% accurate, the scores that Vermeda gave you?
Jeff Hoff. That person's name was Jeff Hoff.
Hoss. Not even Hoff. It's Hoss. Like straight up from Bonanza. Yeah, they live in such a small town, Buckeye Lake. One of their police officers' name is Hoss.
Yes. Okay. Jeff Vermeijen will not pass you if you didn't.
Okay.
He'll make you. Matter of fact, I'll give you a scenario
That doesn't involve me, but whatever.
with Andy Davis. Andy wanted Jeff to say, "Hey, I did my hours." When Andy got in trouble in Muskegon County, he got work. He had to work at the dive team. Andy said, "Just tell him that I was here and worked." Jeff said, "Absolutely not.
Okay.
I am."
So we have a problem with qualifying with firearms. And you decide to tell us a story about another man who got in trouble and got assigned to a dive team.
And just to say I worked it.
To prove here I can shoot a gun, let me tell you a story. This guy got in trouble and had to go scuba diving. And the other guy wouldn't let him not do it. So obviously I'm a great shot.
Yeah.
Fucking
I shot the floor.
Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen all in one. James Hanzey.
Swoosh, bitch.
I am not doing that.
And
And
why
he
is
wouldn't
Jeff
do it.
letting other people claim hours that never happened?
I think it's just not muscle memory. I just think Jeff thinks that, it's 16 hours. He wouldn't know if someone came out and worked. Like during the day.
And you can't expect police officers to like verify things or check facts or police work.
When he's off, or during the night weekend when he's off. I think he just thinks it's the honor system, and I'm going to give you 16 hours, and he's not 100% sure if they did or not. I don't think it was to deceive anybody. It's not to.
Jimmy, would you say that everybody got 16?
But here's the thing, like if you're not working and you're one of these between 4 and 12 people getting 16 hours doing jack shit, here's
A
the thing.
month.
I am the type of person where if I'm getting something for free, apparently, I would be one of those people to call and be like, what the fuck? Because I don't want to be one of those idiots who takes a bunch of shit that isn't mine and then lives medium to high on the hog for a while, only to have my dick kicked by someone who's like, hey, all those things that came to you weren't actually yours. And you should have questioned it, because why would you expect that?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Whoops.
You know,
I
just based
got
on-
so my work every 5 paychecks gives me like a Wi-Fi stipend because I work from home, and I didn't know it was a thing. And then all of a sudden my paycheck got bigger once, and then every 5 got bigger by like $80. And I was like, that's weird. So I had to ask about it, because I was like, why? I'm salary. Why is my thing changing every so often? And
Right.
it weirded me out just by that.
Because that's the thing.
But I pay attention.
If something comes to you that you don't expect, you go, what's up with that?
Yeah.
If you're a scumbag, you go, nice.
Yeah. This is cool.
Based on what you know.
Extra 16
The
whole
guys that I
hours.
have now,
I'm talking about, let's think of all the 17. Let's just take 17 and to right now. Do you think that everybody
17 right
really got
now.
their 16 hours in?
if they didn't get their 16, they got close to it.
Okay. But
That's 2 days.
Pretty
you would say
close.
that's an accurate
Like,
statement,
fuck.
and not-
2 days.
Most people were able to scrape together 2 days a month, but those who couldn't were fucking close, man.
maybe 14, maybe 10, 8.
Some of those months only had 28 days, which makes it very difficult to squeeze 2 out of.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. It's Buckeye
I
Lake.
mean, an hour a day? That's hard.
Buckeye Lake is the biggest little city that never sleeps.
Not everyone got their 16 hours in.
I would say it's accurate. They were close, but
Gotcha.
may not have got to 16.
It was accurate to the
Some of
closeness.
them may have got more than 16, and they only got wrote down.
But that's fair to say, though, right? That
Yeah.
they didn't get 16 all the time. And it's also fair to say that you're in charge of that.
Fair to say.
Ultimately, it's your department, your responsibility to make sure those numbers are accurate.
Them numbers were never, ever, in the whole world, ever meant to be accurate. That was just a summary of what we've done.
Okay.
The only thing accurate in that whole thing was the very front page. That was accuracy.
And it wasn't accurate because you guys missed Ritter's numbers on almost every month.
What do you mean?
Like Ritter's numbers that he had, your call volume is actually way bigger than you guys claim it is. You guys have more calls and did more things than you guys claim.
Hey, guess what, Jimmy? The silver linings of this stupid storm cloud that your retarded ass
You did more work.
manifested is like, hey, whoops, you did actually something good. Like, if someone were to come into my office and be like, hey, good news, you did more work than we thought you did, I go, whoa, cool. Does that mean a raise? And they'd probably say, like, sure, or whatever. It's a pizza party, right?
Yeah.
But if that comes at the middle point of like a shitstorm of like, well, you sucked at this, and you might have done this wrong, you definitely did this wrong, and you did that for 2 mayors, and then you did this for 1 mayor.
This is questionable.
Yeah, we're like dead nuts in the center of this video where he's like, hey, guess what?
You got more shit done than you wrote down.
Good on you. Too bad your gross negligence and incompetence vastly overshadows.
And you can't shoot a gun.
It's like building a single-tier sandcastle on a beach when high tide is coming in. But hey, good for you, buddy. That was a fun 17 seconds.
Good job.
And you know what? Maybe we should call it there. It's been a solid...
2 hours. And
We're coming in on
Almost.
2.5 hours. So let's call it there. James Hanzey. Total disgrace of Buckeye Lake, of the 4-person police squad. But that's the way it goes. The thing I like about James Hanzey is he's not a sex pervert. He's not a murderer. He's just a wildly incompetent person who burned through resources, imaginary or legitimate, to basically no essential problem other than like making a bunch of people pissed off on a city council.
right, and getting fired and
Right.
assuming not getting his pension.
It's nice to stick to the shores, closer to the shore, like the shallow waters, where we got a James Hanzey who's just basically like a dumbass professionally, instead of having like people at the end of this rainbow with horribly wrecked lives.
Right.
He's just a clown like Sarah Boone, but Sarah Boone still killed somebody, so
Yeah.
there's still a little
George
bit
is
of,
still dead.
there's still a little bit of sting there. That being said, we're going to finish up with James Hanzey next week so you can see how that shakes out. Not great, obviously, but from this day as of this live, in 2 days' time, we are not finishing anything. We're starting and then finishing possibly the
Vincent Ambrosio.
Sorry.
The something cowboy.
Vincent Ambrosio. Here's the thing. Everybody calls him the Undertaker Predator. He does not read as Undertaker to me. I get, like, whatever, he's got the trench coat or whatever, but he comes across as like a New York Jewish cowboy. So I call him the New York Cowboy because he does not, like, he doesn't have any imposing figures.
When I saw pictures of him back when, like, we originally had it set up, I didn't think of him as an Undertaker at all.
He's a Jewish cowboy.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. A New York Jewish, like a.
He's got the 10-gallon hat. He's got the pocket
rich
knife he
parents
throws into it.
Jewish cowboy guy. Yeah.
The type of person who buys a cowboy hat and boots and duster who's never even been to
in the dirt.
Tombstone.
Yeah, he's never been in a desert.
You touched a cow, you can buy the duster. I'll allow it. But he has never, like, maybe in a pasture as he was driving through, like, rural New York somewhere.
Amish town. Like the Amish country. He would see a cow. But he's never, he's never pet a cow.
No, and that's the he's more like
nor
that.
Mixed dairy and meat.
Yeah, the Undertaker does not read to me because, again, the Undertaker is like an imposing figure, and he's just like the Pillsbury Doughboy in a cowboy outfit.
Trench coat does not make an Undertaker.
Whatever. The internet does what the internet does, and it's like, think about it, people. That's it. So in 2 days' time, we're going to be doing Vincent Ambrosio, and then,
with baked salmon.
With baked salmon, obviously. I mean, hopefully you've read the news. Now, you saw it on the channel. It's been, we've been teasing it for quite a while. Baked salmon's come back on the show. More TCAP content. Then probably next Wednesday, we'll do another round of game show to see if we can get Tony knocked off this. It's part of a bird cage, let's be honest. But see if you can knock him off that bird cage. We'll see what happens. But I do appreciate you guys showing up to take in all the shenanigans we got going on here with James Hanzey. And we'll see you next week for another episode. Yes, it will definitely be it'll be Sunday. Technically,
which is technically next week. In my head, weeks start on Sundays. The new week is a Sunday because
the Gregorian, it's the Gregorian versus like the Jewish calendar. Because I think the Jewish calendar starts, the Sabbath is the first day. But let's be real.
Isn't that Saturday?
No, the Sabbath is Sunday.
I thought Jewish people go to church on Saturdays.
I don't know. I've got Jewish people in my family.
They go to church on Saturdays.
I'm not Jewish. I appreciate it.
If in my head, Sunday to Saturday is 1 week. It's a sandwich of work.
Monday is the first bite of the sandwich.
Yeah, the Sunday is the bread, and then the first part of the meat and the cheese and the lettuce and everything.
You're going from top to bottom. I'm going like from biting it. You're picturing like a Dagwood, and I'm seeing a Subway. The Subway is the first bite of the Subway sandwich. That 11-inch is the Monday, and you're going, no, the bread. What?
Tony says he won't fail. No, Sunday to Saturday is a week sandwich.
Yeah, it's a week-ass sandwich.
Breads are Saturday and Sunday.
God damn it. Your calendar, the business week is what I'm saying.
Is all the good stuff of a sandwich. The bread, which is also the good stuff.
The weekend is like the dessert of the sandwich that you have to eat. You're going from top to bottom. You don't go top to bottom. You move through the week linearly and horizontally.
In my head, it's horizontal as a calendar. But it's like an accordion.
Through the week vertically, like going through bread, cheese, meat, pickles, mayo, whatever.
I need something to tell me I'm right.
I need some. We're going to make some chicken dinosaurs, people. I'll catch you
chicken nuggets.
Next
bitch.
This Sunday. Bye.
Bye.
Or they try to.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.